The battle on the stage was truly an eye-opener for him. Some cultivator spells were profound ice cones, blade seals, thunder, and flying sand, and their fights were spectacular. Others were more down-to-earth. One cultivator raised his hand and produced a pile of talismans, while another possessed the power to conjure a dozen snacks with a single punch. Correspondingly, casualties soon appeared. Even a master at the 9th layer of chi refining was heavily injured. Bai Yu, while eating melon seeds and watching the show, was secretly assessing them. A late-stage chi refining master, without using talismans or artifacts, was probably on par with an innate realm martial artist from the mortal world. With talismans and artifacts, an innate martial artist could only barely hold on for a moment. This was the crushing power of a different civilization system. The gap was simply too vast. Just then, old Mo next to him barked, reminding Bai Yu that an acquaintance was now on stage. He saw Zhang Tinglu leap onto the high platform, while Lu Hongmei watched anxiously from the crowd, cheering him on. She had even brought a large megaphone, shouting, "Go Brother Zhang. Brother Zhang is sure to win." Zhang Tinglu's opponent was an old Taoist with a goatee. The old Taoist brandished a horsetail whisk, its white strands striking like swords, aiming straight for Zhang Tinglu. Zhang Tinglu, in turn, threw out 2 earthwall talismans to block the opponent's artifact. The two were locked in a fierce battle for a time. In the end, Zhang Tinglu ended the fight by freezing the old Taoist with a profound ice talisman. Bai Yu was genuinely happy for his old acquaintance. That evening, he brought a pot of Liang fire wine to celebrate with the couple. In the following days, Zhang Tinglu fought 3 more matches. Unexpectedly, he died in the 3rd one. Zhang Tinglu had won 2 consecutive matches and was just 1 victory away from securing a spot in the sect. But in this 3rd match, he faced a master at the 8th layer of chi refining. Both Lu Hongmei and Bai Yu had advised him to give up, but he insisted on taking the risk. It was his last chance before he would be over the age limit and unable to participate in the grand competition again. As it turned out, his opponent was a body cultivator. Not only was he clad in iron armor with extremely high defense, but his attack power was also astonishing. He shattered Zhang Tinglu's protective spirit talisman with 1 punch. With another, he blew up Zhang Tinglu's head. On the flying immortal platform, blades and swords showed no mercy. Life and death were one's own responsibility. Lu Hongmei wept bitterly, clutching her husband's mutilated body. Bai Yu stood to the side, his heart filled with a myriad of emotions. Just last night, the 3 of them had been eating and drinking together. Zhang Tinglu's eyes had been full of hope for the future. "Once I become a sect disciple, I won't let Hongmei work from dawn till dusk at the stall anymore. We'll open a small shop near the sect and have a few kids. Brother Bai, you can come work at our shop too. I'll guarantee you'll have food to eat." But now, all talk of making a name for himself, all hope for the future, had turned into a long sigh. The path of immortality was perilous, so perilous. A master at the peak of the 7th layer like Zhang Tinglu had fallen on the stage just like that. Bai Yu sighed deeply.
"Sister Liu, let's take Brother Zhang back first.
We should fix his appearance before laying him to rest." The usually sharp-witted Lu Hongmei was now utterly devastated, her expression numb. Bai Yu had no choice but to lead her and carry Zhang Tinglu's body out of the crowd. Back at Lu Hongmei's cave residence, Bai Yu began to tidy Zhang Tinglu's appearance, repairing his shattered head. Back in the village, this kind of work was old man Zhang's responsibility. Bai Yu, having watched and learned, naturally knew how to do it. Finally, with Lu Hongmei's permission, Bai Yu single-handedly arranged for Zhang Tinglu's burial, choosing a spot with good feng shui. Even for a cultivator, a master at the 7th layer of chi refining, death meant nothing more than becoming a handful of yellow earth.
The road is long, the west gate beacon. When will the dead return?
Once gone, they are gone forever. After sending off his former friend, Lu Hongmei, dressed in mourning clothes, collapsed before the tombstone, crying until her voice was hoarse. Bai Yu stepped forward to help her up.
"Sister Liu, please restreins your grief.
Brother Zhang would surely want you to live well.
Don't ruin your health with tears."
Lu Hongmei collapsed onto Bai Yu's chest, her tears flowing uncontrollably, soaking a large patch of his shirt. Half pulling, half carrying, Bai Yu brought Lu Hongmei back home. After settling her down, Lu Hongmei slowly recovered a little and spoke her first words since Zhang Tinglu's death. "I want to go home." Bai Yu fell silent. In this marketplace, he was closest to the Zhang couple. Now one was dead, and the other was returning to her hometown. The days ahead would be even lonelier. After a long while, Bai Yu sighed. "It's good to go back, to get away from this place of sorrow. Sister Lu, remember to be safe. It's not very peaceful here lately." After comforting Lu Hongmei for a bit, Bai Yu returned to his own cave residence. Funeral successful. Reward obtained, Earth Spiritual Root +5, Life Experience +920,000.
Optional reward, Earth Spirit Scripture, Petrification Tar, Earth Flying Stone, Rock Shield, Fire Rintar, Spirit Grass Planting. Funeral Participation, 81%. Family Satisfaction, 78%.
2 additional rewards may be selected. Bai Yu felt a mix of sorrow and joy as he began to select his rewards. Among the optional rewards, The Earth Spirit scripture was a cultivation technique, while the others were spells. Bai Yu didn't plan to change his main cultivation technique, so he naturally wouldn't choose the Earth Spirit scripture. Petrification art was a support technique of the profound rank, upper grade. It could make one's aura resemble that of a stone. At higher levels, it could even disguise one's spiritual power.
Bai Yu chose 10 life-saving technique without a second thought.
The other 2 earth element spells didn't align with his cultivation technique, so he didn't choose them either. The remaining choice was between fire rain art and spirit grass planting. Spirit grass planting was not a quick endeavor. It required a stable source of medicinal herbs to be practical.
In the end, Bai Yu chose the fire rain art. Fire rain art.
Shen rank, mid-grade. Can transform fire into rain, with a very large attack range. Compatibility with fireball art, 82%. This fire rain art was a higher level fire spell than the fireball art, and it could even be fused with it. Without another word, Bai Yu invested his life experience to merge the two. Fusion successful. Obtained, Storm Fireball, Shen rank, mid-grade. Upgrading from Fireball art to Storm Fireball, the original proficiency remained the same, but its power increased significantly. Bai Yu's combat strength had grown once again. A few days later, the Flying Immortal Grand Competition finally concluded. 100 lucky individuals successfully obtained the qualification to enter the 6 major sections. In this competition, more than 30 cultivators had died, and the number of injured was even greater. Bai Yu looked at the deceased cultivators and sighed with emotion. These are all walking experience packs. What a waste. At a time like this, stepping forward to perform funerals could easily get him mistaken for a demonic cultivator who steals souls. Moreover, unless he had permission from family or friends, or authorization from the 6 sects, there would be no reward even if he did conduct a funeral. If he had the status of a sect disciple, things would be much more convenient in the future. After the Flying Immortal Grand Competition, the major powers held their own smaller-scale recruitment events. The people recruited this time either had extraordinary aptitude, powerful backgrounds, or unique skills. Bai Yu also went to participate with great enthusiasm, but unfortunately, his aptitude was simply abysmal. He failed at the first hurdle, the spiritual root test. When he placed his hand on the Immortal Seeking Stone, it only emitted a faint, 3-colored light. The Immortal Seeking Stone could not only test the type of spiritual root but also roughly gauge its strength. Even a single spiritual root was useless if its strength was extremely weak. It couldn't be considered a heaven spiritual root. A true heaven spiritual root was not only singular in attribute but also astonishingly strong. Conversely, if the spiritual root strength was high enough, even a 5-element spiritual root could become a 5-element saintly spiritual root. His aptitude was poor, he had no background, and his skill in talisman making was not yet refined enough. In the end, he failed to catch the eye of any major power. Bai Yu wasn't discouraged by this failure. He hadn't held much hope in the first place. His main purpose this time was to participate and, more importantly, to gather information. For example, the Sunu sect preferred to recruit virgin women and would even lower their standards. The Great Chan Monastery liked to recruit those with great fortune. The Tiangong sect liked to recruit battle-hardened qi refining cultivators. Next time, Bai Yu could prepare with more specific targets. Based on his observations, if he could become a first-rank talisman master, he would have a chance to enter Biluo City or the Tai Sword sect. As a second-ranked talisman master, he could choose from any of the major powers except the Sunu sect. As for a third-ranked talisman master, not only could he enter the Sunu sect, but the sect would even assign him a Taoist partner. At this moment, Bai Yu wasn't the least bit unhappy. Instead, he felt more confident. He performed the soaring art, riding the wind, preparing to return to his cave residence. Halfway there, he saw flashes of spiritual light below, accompanied by the booming sounds of battle. Bai Yu frowned and, without a moment's hesitation, accelerated away from the battlefield. A place of trouble was not one to linger in. As the Flying Immortal Convention began to disperse, the situation in Songyun Market grew more chaotic. Many cultivators would have the idea of pulling one last job before leaving, striking and then fleeing 1,000 miles away, disappearing without a trace. The major sects couldn't possibly manage everything. At most, they could only ensure safety within the marketplace itself. Bai Yu rushed back to his cave before the convention fully dispersed, but he still encountered a fight on the way. He immediately sped up and returned to his cave residence. With old Mo on guard, he took out an array disc and activated the 8 trigrams cloud light formation to its maximum power. Instantly, a layer of white mist appeared outside his cave, completely obscuring it from view. This was a formation he had spent 300 spirit stones on, said to be able to withstand the combined attack of several late-stage qi refining masters. Generally speaking, this formation was enough to ensure his peace of mind. Rogue cultivators wouldn't risk being discovered by the 6 sects law enforcement teams to attack a major formation for a long time. Bai Yu instructed old Mo to keep watch while he sat cross-legged to meditate and recover his energy. His state slowly returned to its peak. So far, no enemies had come looking for him, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. Just then, something unexpected happened.
The 8 trigram cloud light formation trembled. A familiar voice came from outside.
Help!
Bei US expression t'ensed.
It was Lu Hongmei. He leaped up and went to the entrance of the cave. Indeed, it was her. In the distance, several streaks of light were rapidly chasing after her. Lu Hongmei didn't know this was Bai Yu's cave, and the thick fog prevented her from seeing inside. She cried out anxiously, "Fellow Taoist, I've run into robbers. I beg you to save me." Bai Yu's mind raced. If it were anyone else, he could have pretended not to see her. But it was Lu Hongmei. He took out the array disc and after a series of operations, a path appeared in the white mist. Bai Yu lowered his voice, "Fellow Taoist, walk forward 5 steps."
Do not misstep.
Lu Hongmei's face lit up with joy. She followed Bai Yu's instructions and took 5 steps forward. With each step, the white mist behind her quickly closed, eventually completely concealing her figure. Bai Yu didn't let her directly into the cave, but guided her to a safe spot in the center of the array. He spoke in a deep, altered voice, "Fellow Taoist, what exactly is going on? Tell me." Seeing that she was temporarily safe, Lu Hongmei hurriedly said, "My name is Lu Hongmei. I usually sell talismans and other miscellaneous goods at a stall in Songyun Market. I was planning to return to my hometown to live in peace, but I was ambushed by robbers on the way. They not only wanted my money but also had designs on me. I had to use an earth evasion talisman left by my late husband to escape to this place. I only wanted to hide in the fog, but I didn't expect to trigger a formation." After listening, Bai Yu confirmed it was indeed Lu Hongmei and not someone else in disguise. Furthermore, from her expression as she spoke, she didn't seem to be lying. Only then did Bai Yu truly open a path for her to enter. "Sister Lu, come in quickly. It's safe here." Hearing the familiar voice, Lu Hongmei was overjoyed and quickly entered the cave.
Bei, it's you.
At this moment, Lu Hongmei's clothes were torn in several places, revealing the fair skin and sharp-edged wounds beneath. Just as Bai Yu was about to speak, a furious roar came from outside.
You lo inside.
"Hand over that woman, or we'll show you the might of the Black Wind 4 ghosts." Several streaks of fiery light shot over, revealing 4 cultivators. They were dressed strangely in garish colors and wore masks, their faces hidden. One was at the 7th layer of chi refining, 2 at the 6th, and 1 at the 5th. Seeing these 4 cultivators, Lu Hongmei immediately grew tense. If Bai Yu's formation was broken, she didn't have a second earth evasion talisman to escape. On their side, a 4th layer and a 5th layer cultivator against these enemies would be like lambs to the slaughter. Lu Hongmei asked anxiously, "Bai, is this formation of yours reliable?" Bai Yu took off his white long robe and draped it over her.
Sister Liu, don't worry.
"I paid a high price for this formation. It's not so easily broken." Lu Hongmei was still very uneasy. Outside, the Black Wind 4 ghosts, seeing no reaction from within, began to attack. They released their magical artifacts: a saber, a sword, a pair of hooks, and a trident. The 4 artifacts shimmered with spiritual light, all were mid-grade or higher. The 5 artifacts bombarded the white mist. A white light screen emerged from the mist, blocking all the attacks. The 5 artifacts struck repeatedly, causing the light screen to ripple like water, but it never broke. Bai Yu's face was calm, but he let out a long sigh of relief in his heart. It seemed this 8 trigrams cloud light formation was even stronger than he had imagined. As long as the formation had enough spirit stones, the 4 people outside could attack for a year and might not be able to break through. He was overjoyed. Those 300 spirit stones were well spent. Fortunately, he had been prepared, otherwise, he would be done for now. Bai Yu took out a few bottles of pills and handed them to Lu Hongmei. "Sister Lu, they won't be able to get in for a while. You should treat your wounds and recover your cultivation first." Lu Hongmei looked at Bai Yu gratefully and entered the cave to sit cross-legged and meditate. Bai Yu, on the other hand, conserved his energy by her side. Outside, the Black Wind 4 ghosts used all sorts of methods but failed to break the formation. One of them even used a Xian rank, upper-grade golden blade talisman, which only managed to dim the cloud light formation screen slightly, and the white light screen was continuously regenerating. One of the short, stout cultivators said, "This is not working. We've been attacking for almost an hour and still can't break this turtle shell. If this continues, we might be discovered by the 6 sex law enforcement teams." A skinny, bamboo-like man next to him said, "Fourth brother, by your logic, we should just leave?"
Jeven used a golden blade talisman.
"If we just leave, we won't even break even." The short, stout cultivator said, "Third brother, there are priorities. A single Xian rank, upper-grade spirit talisman is nothing compared to our brother's safety." The tall, skinny cultivator grew anxious. "It wasn't your spirit talisman, so of course you don't care. Besides, what are the chances we'll be discovered by the 6 sex cultivators?" At this moment, the white-haired old man in the center spoke gravely, "Stop arguing. Take a look at this formation. Does it look familiar? Second sister, what do you think?" The only woman among the 4 spoke up. "Now that you mention it, this formation does look like the 8 trigrams cloud light formation. It's from Master Ku's handiwork." The white-haired old man stroked his beard. "Indeed, I think so too. In that case, Let's try the array breaker we got from Master Ku. If the array breaker doesn't work, we'll flee immediately.
We can't stay long.
Saying this, he took out a fist-sized shrunken magical artifact, an array breaker, a one-time use tool specifically for formations. The white-haired old man took out the array breaker, a fist-sized blue sphere surrounded by flashing lightning. He chanted an incantation and threw the array breaker forcefully. A shocking scene occurred. The array breaker passed directly through the formation's light screen.
The light screen rippled like water.
The screen of the 8 trigrams cloud light formation, which the 4 of them had been unable to break, was like nothing to this array breaker. Following that, the array breaker exploded with a loud bang. Lightning shot out in all directions. The mist within the 8 trigrams cloud light formation instantly dissipated, and even the protective light screen shattered. The white-haired old man laughed heartily.
Ah!
Master Ku's formations have always been exquisite, but every formation has a backdoor. This fellow was blind to have bought Master Ku's formation. The short, stout cultivator was even more impatient.
The formation is broken.
What are we waiting for? Let's go in and kill those two. Same old rules, I'll take the lead. I'll also have the first taste of the woman inside. He first stuck a Vajra talisman on himself, then raised a shield artifact in front of him. As he charged, he cackled, "Listen up, you people inside. You're already dead. Stop your pointless struggles and save yourselves from the pain of soul-searching." The Black Wind 4 ghosts coordinated perfectly. The 4 of them formed a strange formation and charged into the mountain cave. The result? They were dumbfounded. The cave was already empty. The short, stout cultivator shouted, "Damn it, where are they?" Second sister, one of the 4, raised her hand and released several fist-sized black winds. "Find them for me."
After a moment, the Black Wind found a tunnel in a corner.
It was winding and twisting, its destination unknown. Oh, these days had not been idle. The saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. A survivalist must always have an escape route. In their spare time, he and old Mo had dug tunnels in the cave. They dug and dug, creating more than a dozen of them. Only 2 had exits, leading in completely different directions. The rest were dead ends. If a strong enemy invaded, they could quickly escape through the tunnels. Even if the enemy pursued them into the tunnels, they would be disoriented by the winding paths. He hadn't expected to actually use it this time. In the cave, the female cultivator sneered, "Trying to escape? It's not that easy." She formed hand seals, directing the black winds to circle the cave, capturing the auras of 2 people.
You can't escape.
Several black winds circled for a moment, then flew into the tunnel. The white-haired old man gave the order, and the 4 of them chased after them. Inside the tunnel, the 4 followed the black winds closely. They couldn't help but feel annoyed. The tunnel was extremely narrow and winding, making it impossible to use any kind of flying techniques. Before long, the short, stout cultivator at the front stepped on thin air and fell into a trap. With a kacha sound, a beast trap clamped onto his right leg. The short, stout cultivator broke out in a cold sweat. He had been focused on carrying his shield and watching ahead, never expecting a hidden trap underfoot. Fortunately, he had a secret body cultivation technique, otherwise, his right leg would have been crippled. Just then, a scream came from behind. The tall, skinny cultivator at the rear had a crossbow bolt sticking out of his butt. He didn't have a body cultivation technique. The bolt had pierced deep into his butt. If he hadn't reacted quickly and dodged, he would have been compromised. Second sister among the 4 quickly asked, "Third brother, are you okay?" She turned to check and couldn't help but gasp. This guy was vicious. The crossbow bolt not only had barbs but was also poisoned. Fortunately, it was just a common poison from the mortal world, not a major problem. Otherwise, third brother would have been done for today. Her hands moved swiftly, cutting open the wound, removing the arrowhead, pouring on detoxification powder, and then feeding the tall, skinny cultivator a pill. Finally, she used a rejuvenation art to forcibly heal the wound. The tall, skinny cultivator recovered a lot and said fiercely, "Damn it. Don't let me catch those 2, or I'll make them wish they were dead." This time, the group was much more cautious, on high alert as they proceeded. The journey was fraught with peril. One moment it was a rope trap, the next a poison trap, then a rockfall. Sometimes, the tunnel itself would collapse, and they would have to forcibly dig a path. Who knew they had stumbled into the cave of a cultivator, martial artist, feng shui master, and hunter? Although these were all mortal world tricks, and the 4 were all immortal cultivators, the ordeal left them all injured. Finally, the 4 emerged from the other side of the mountain. More than half of the black winds in front of them had been destroyed. Fourth brother, the fat one, was furious.
Chase them.
We'll cut the man into 1,000 pieces and cripple the woman's cultivation before selling her to a brothel. The other 3 were also seething with anger. Without another word, they followed the black winds in hot pursuit, eager to catch Bai Yu and his companion, to skin them alive and eat their flesh. At this moment, Bai Yu was already flying dozens of miles away with Lu Hongmei. Lu Hongmei patted her chest, panting, "Bai, thank goodness you dug tunnels in the cave. Otherwise, if we had fallen into their hands, I can't even imagine the consequences. We've flown so far now, they shouldn't be able to find us, right? Bai Yu did not relax his guard. Let's hope so. But it's better to fly a bit further. Just as he spoke, he suddenly saw a streak of golden light shooting from the horizon behind them. Four figures were jointly propelling a long sword, riding it through the air at an incredible speed.
The Black Wind Four Ghosts have cooked up.
Bai Yu was shocked. The enemy had caught up so quickly.
Sister Liu, let's go.
He pulled Lu Hongmei, and his evasion art instantly accelerated. He quickly calculated in his mind. The enemy had one at the 7th layer, two at the 6th, and one at the 5th. Bai Yu himself was only at the 4th layer of chi refining, but with his innate martial artist cultivation, he should be able to win against the 7th layer one. Adding a 6th layer one would result in a stalemate. Lu Hongmei was only at the 5th layer of chi refining and clearly couldn't handle the remaining two enemies. They were outmatched. Bai Yu gritted his teeth and stuck a wind-riding talisman on both of them. Their speed increased by another notch. He pulled Lu Hongmei around a large mountain, trying to shake off the enemy, and then shot off in another direction. However, it wasn't long before the Black Wind Four Ghosts caught up again. They tried several times, but no matter how they tried to block the line of sight and shake off the enemy would quickly catch up. Lu Hongmei gritted her teeth and said, "Bai, let's split up and flee. If we split up, at least one of us has a chance to survive. They're after me. You can escape.
I can't drag you down with me."
Bai Yu's mind worked furiously. If he didn't figure out how the enemy was tracking them, splitting up would just give the enemy a chance to defeat them one by one.
Aura.
They must be tracking us by our aura. As long as our auras don't change, we can't completely shake them off. Figuring this out, he didn't say another word and pulled Lu Hongmei down into a river.
Quick, take off your cloth.
Bai Yu was the first to land in the river. The water soaked him completely. He didn't have time to explain further and urged, "Quick, take off your clothes." Lu Hongmei let out a small ah, then quickly understood. The simplest way to get rid of the enemy's tracking was to wash off their auras with water and change their clothes. She also jumped into the river, and her whole body was immediately soaked. At this point, neither of them cared about modesty. They quickly stripped off their clothes, leaving nothing on. Bai Yu's gaze inadvertently fell to the side, where he saw a stunning scene of fair skin. He sighed to himself, "Damn it, no wonder there have been so many Chow Chows throughout history. The charm of a mature woman is truly something not many can resist." He threw out a bottle. "Apply this all over your body. It can change your aura." It was a pill he had picked up in his spare time, along with some kind of substance that could alter one's body odor. Soon, the two of them finished applying it and put on new clothes. Before leaving, a thought struck Bai Yu. He fished out an embroidered dress from the river. Lu Hongmei's face was flushed red. She gave Bai Yu a look. "Even at a time like this, you're still thinking about such things." Bai Yu didn't explain much and took to the air again. Not long after the two left, a brilliant light descended from the sky.
Second sister entered Broder, the tall, skinny one, of the Black Wind Four Ghosts landed by the river, standing on a flying sword.
The remaining black winds circled restlessly by the river. The tall, skinny one, whose name was Chen Sheng, said, "The aura ends here. They must have used the river to wash it off. Are we just going to let them get away?" Second sister said coldly, "It doesn't matter if we lost them. Big brother and fourth brother are still out there. They're blocking the other two directions. They'll run into them eventually." Soon, a jade pendant on second sister's waist began to glow with white light. A voice came from within, "Second sister, third brother, we've spotted them. Follow us quickly." The tall, skinny brother grinned. "Good. Let's see where they can run this time." The two of them took to the air again and gave chase. Half an hour later, Bai Yu and Lu Hongmei were flying hastily over a jungle. Behind them, the Black Wind Four Ghosts were in hot pursuit. The distance between them was only a few miles and was constantly shrinking. Lu Hongmei said anxiously, "What do we do? If this goes on, we'll be caught sooner or later. And we're too close now to shake them off." The two of them had been unlucky. They had managed to escape the tracking by washing off their auras in the river, but who knew the Black Wind Four Ghosts had split into 3 groups to block them from 3 directions. Bai Yu and his companion were eventually spotted by the 4 ghosts and had been pursued relentlessly. Bai Yu looked up ahead. In the distance was a twin-peaked mountain. The 2 peaks stood side by side, with a dip in the middle, resembling a boat. His heart leaped with joy. He said, "I have a plan. Follow me." He flew directly towards one of the mountain peaks and landed in the lush green forest. Lu Hongmei gritted her teeth and followed. She thought to herself, hiding in the forest can provide some cover for a moment, but sooner or later, the Black Wind Four Ghosts will find us. At this point, I can only trust Bai. In the sky, the Black Wind Four Ghosts also saw the streak of light land in the forest. Fourth brother, the fat one, laughed loudly. "Ah! These two are out of steam. They ran into the forest. They're just asking for death." Third brother, the tall, skinny one, also said, "Ha! Looks like they're at their wits' end. When I catch them, I'll feed them to my black winds. The leader, the white-haired old man, was also pleased, but he still added a word of caution. The closer we get, the more careful we must be.
The enemy might pull up a desperate fight.
Fourth brother, you lead the way.
Activate your Vajra talisman and Earth shield.
The four of them formed a flying goose formation and quickly gave chase. At this time, Bai Yu was moving swiftly through the forest.
The light from the sky was getting closer. Suddenly, Bai Yu's eyes lit up.
Found it. He led Lu Hongmei to the base of a cliff. The cliff face was covered in green vines. Lu Hongmei asked, puzzled, Bai, what are we doing here? Shouldn't we be hiding deep in the forest?
Bai Yu ignored her.
He pulled aside some vines on the cliff face, revealing a cave. This cave was the treasure trove of the rogue cultivators, known as the Silent Twin Killers. Bai Yu had only glanced at it from a distance before and hadn't been in a hurry to enter. Today, he had no choice but to take the risk and explore it. Bai Yu led Lu Hongmei into the cave. From the inside, he pulled the vines back into place, and the cave entrance looked as it was before. No one could tell there was a cave here just by looking. As soon as they entered, they found two dark tunnels, their destinations unknown. Lu Hongmei was astonished. Following Bai Yu for the past half a day had been an eye-opening experience. Bai's mind was sharp, and his methods were endless. He was more cunning than an old fox. She asked tentatively, I didn't expect there to be a hidden world here. But this might not be safe.
The black wind four ghosts might catch up.
She pointed to the two paths ahead and asked, which way do we go now? Bai Yu, however, chuckled. He then took out two pieces of clothing from his storage bag. One was Lu Hongmei's nightgown, and the other was Bai Yu's long robe. He wrapped stones in the two pieces of clothing and threw them with all his might down the right-hand tunnel. With his innate martial artist's physique, who knew how far he could throw them. It took a long time for the echo to return. There we can begin.
Bai Yu and Liu ont mes good busy.
An incense sticks time later, the Black Wind four ghosts stopped outside the cave. Second sister among the four said, according to the Black Wind senses, they entered this cave. Thankfully, our Black Winds can not only lock onto auras but also detect recent activity. Fourth brother, the fat one, said, then what are we waiting for? Let's charge in and finish them. He took the lead, holding a large earth-yellow shield, and entered the cave. The other three followed cautiously. Soon, the Black Wind four ghosts also reached the fork in the road inside. Fourth brother shouted, big brother, there are two paths here. Which way should we go? Second sister calmly analyzed. According to the feedback from the Black Winds, the right tunnel has their auras. The left one has no trace at all. Fourth brother laughed. The Black Winds are never wrong. Then let's chase them to the right. Second sister, however, shook her head. We should go left. They are deliberately luring us to the right. Their auras were gone before, and now they've suddenly reappeared. It's obviously a trap. Everyone looked to the leader, awaiting his decision. The leader, Zhang Yun, said, our opponent is clearly not an idiot. We should think one step ahead. Perhaps this is a double bluff, using the obvious bait to lure us to the other path. So we'll go right. But before that, third brother, use your space sealing talisman to block the cave entrance, just in case. Third brother took out a spirit talisman with a pained expression and threw it at the cave entrance. In an instant, the cave entrance disappeared. He said with some regret, don't worry, big brother. Even if we're wrong, those two will never be able to get out. Damn it, I've used 2 Shen rank, upper grade spirit talismans in a row. If we don't kill them, it'll be a huge loss. The leader reassured him, don't worry, they definitely won't escape. Third brother, you've contributed the most this time. When we catch that female cultivator, I'll leave her to you to dispose of as you wish. Soon, the four of them headed down the left tunnel. They coordinated perfectly, not revealing any weaknesses. A long time later, behind a rock at the cave entrance, a large bulge suddenly appeared. After the Black Wind four ghosts had left, a large rock in the cave suddenly bulged. It turned out that Bai Yu had not entered either of the 2 tunnels, but was hiding near the entrance of the cave. He was wearing an earthen robe and had merged with a large rock. To avoid being discovered, he had even added a double insurance. He used the petrification art to make his aura identical to that of a stone. There were 2 paths ahead. How could he choose to escape the enemy? Choose left? Choose right? No matter which he chose, there was a 50% chance of being blocked by the enemy. So Bai Yu chose neither. His choice was to create a third option, embodying the spirit of a madman. At this moment, Bai Yu was wearing the earthen robe, pressing Lu Hongmei tightly beneath him, trying his best to cover both of them with the robe. Both of them had used the petrification art. No one could tell that there were 2 people on this large rock. Bai Yu was pressed against Lu Hongmei's plump, round buttocks, and his mind couldn't help but wonder. Earlier, to escape their pursuers, they had only had time to change into their lightest, thinnest undergarments. At this moment, they were almost completely pressed together. Lu Hongmei's pretty face was flushed red, as if she sensed something, but she didn't dare to make any movement. In just half a day, she had come to admire Bai Yu completely. From now on, she would do whatever Bai told her to do. He couldn't be wrong. If it weren't for him, she would have been captured by the Black Wind Four Ghosts long ago. Bai Yu's ears twitched as he listened intently into the tunnel. Faint explosions could be heard from inside. It seemed the Black Wind Four Ghosts had gone far and had run into trouble. Only then did Bai Yu whisper in Lu Hongmei's ear, "Go Sister Lu, they're gone. We can get up now." He got up and put away the earthen robe. Lu Hongmei also hurriedly got up, her head lowered, not daring to look at Bai Yu, her flushed face full of charm. At this time, the Black Wind Four Ghosts had entered the left tunnel. They all had Vajra talismans on them, creating a protective golden light as they cautiously moved forward. The tall, skinny man in the middle was cursing, "Damn it, this guy is too damn cunning. There are traps everywhere on the road. Don't let me catch him, or he'll be in for it." Just then, the vines on the surrounding walls began to grow wildly. In an instant, the four of them were surrounded by a crisscrossing network of vines. The vines bound their protective light shields tightly. The four of them hadn't paid any attention to the withered-looking vines on the walls before. Now, they were in a bind. They hurriedly brandished their swords and artifacts to hack and slash, but for every vine they cut, two more would entangle them. It was an endless battle. The white-haired old man, being more experienced, thought to himself, 9 thirst vines. Damn it, they actually transplanted a 9 thirst vine here. This vine has extremely strong vitality. It's impossible to cut through it in a short time. By the time we're done, our spiritual power will be heavily depleted. They're trying to use the 9 thirst vines to delay us and drain our spiritual power. Fourth brother, the fat cultivator, was impatient. He said, "If we can't cut it, let's just burn it." Those two probably don't know that the 9 thirst vine is most afraid of fire. After saying that, he raised his hand and released a fire rain art. The white-haired old man wanted to stop him, but it was too late.
Dozen of raindrop condensed from flamme smashed onto the 9 thirst vine.
As expected, the vines ignited on contact and began to burn fiercely. In an instant, the dense network of 9 thirst vines was reduced to ashes. The tunnel was filled with smoke and raging flames. However, the burning of the vines triggered a mechanism in the cave. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several golden sharp swords, Shen-rank mid-grade talismans, the golden sword talisman, shot out from under the feet of the four. The golden swords, concealed by the fire and smoke, shot upwards. The protective light shields of the four were generally unable to block attacks from below. The four were greatly alarmed, either dodging or counterattacking. However, the tall, skinny man, who had been shot in the butt earlier, had his movements restricted. He failed to dodge in time and was pierced by a sword. This time, he wasn't so lucky. The golden sword shot up from a certain area, disemboweled him, and blood gushed out. In this situation, unless you were Wolverine, no one could withstand this devastating blow. The tall, skinny cultivator screamed and died on the spot.
Teur de broder. Teur de broder.
The other three hurriedly rushed over. The long-legged female cultivator, second sister, held the tall, skinny cultivator, trying to save him, but it was too late. He was already dead. The long-legged female cultivator wept bitterly, "My love, you can't die.
Come back to me."
The fat one gritted his teeth in hatred. "Bastards.
How dare you kill my third brother? I'm not done with you."
The white-haired old man said gravely, "Take third brother's body. We'll kill those two bastards and avenge him." The three of them, filled with murderous intent, headed deeper into the tunnel. Along the way, they encountered a few more minor traps like falling rocks and crossbow bolts, but their lethality was far less than the golden sword talisman. The remaining 3 black wind ghosts passed through smoothly. Finally, they arrived at a stone room.
A silver-white light screen blocked the entrance.
The white-haired old man said coldly, "An illusionary moon formation. It seems this is their last resort.
Let's break this formation together."
The three of them, filled with anger, unleashed their respective artifacts and smashed them against the white light screen. The quality of this illusionary moon formation was far inferior to the 8 trigrams cloud light formation. It only held for a moment before shattering. The fat cultivator couldn't hold back any longer. He raised his earth shield and charged in. The white-haired old man and the long-legged female cultivator followed closely behind, their coordination flawless. The three of them stormed into the stone room, only to find it empty, with only a pile of glittering spirit stones and other items. The fat cultivator was shocked.
"What is going on?"
"They're not inside." The long-legged female cultivator also said, "Could they have taken the other path?" The white-haired old man suddenly thought of something, and his face changed drastically. Just then, a figure appeared in the tunnel behind them. It was Bai Yu. The cave entrance was blocked by a space-sealing talisman, making it impossible to escape without alerting the Black Wind Four Ghosts. Bai Yu had steeled himself, using his aura concealment art and movement technique to follow them from a distance. The 3 Black Wind Ghosts had just broken the illusionary moon formation, making it the perfect time to strike. He raised both hands and threw out dozens of fireball talismans.
Boom, boom, boom.
A series of explosions rang out as dozens of fireball talismans detonated almost simultaneously. Among the 3 black wind ghosts, the white-haired old man was positioned at the very back. He had no time to react before his protective light shield was shattered, and he was completely engulfed in the raging flames, turning into a pile of charcoal. The fat cultivator and the long-legged female cultivator, with the white-haired old man as a buffer, quickly turned around and brandished their artifacts to block the blast, successfully deflecting the aftershock. The black wind 4 ghosts were now reduced to 2. As the flames subsided, the remaining 2 ghosts finally saw Bayou clearly in the tunnel. The fat cultivator's eyes were about to pop out of his head.
Kid, il fucking kill you.
His body swelled, a yellow light appeared around him, and holding a large shield, he charged towards Bayou like a wild bull. Seeing their enemy, their eyes turned red with hatred. The fat cultivator wished he could swallow Bayou whole. He raised his large shield and charged towards Bayou like a wild bull. If he were to be hit, even a demonic beast would be smashed into a bloody pulp. Seeing this, Bayou just smiled faintly. He stomped his foot casually, and the earth energy beneath his feet was stirred. A large pit suddenly appeared under the fat cultivator's feet, tripping him. Then, Bayou quickly threw out a quicksand talisman. The ground under the fat cultivator's feet instantly turned into a large patch of quicksand. He sank into the quicksand, struggling deeper and deeper. Bayou nodded to himself. Feng Shui arts combined with earth element talismans are indeed surprisingly effective. He raised a crimson long saber and slashed towards the fat cultivator. Just then, a pair of short hooks flew over, blocking the crimson long saber. The long-legged female cultivator had made her move. The female cultivator formed hand seals, and the 2 short hooks pressed the long saber down. Meanwhile, the fat cultivator struggled, and the spiritual light around him flickered as he was about to break free from the quicksand. Seeing this, Bayou raised his hand, and a wheel-sized fireball appeared in his palm, and it was still growing. The fat cultivator's eyelids twitched. Is that a fucking fireball, Art? Other people's fireballs are the size of eggs or fists, but yours is bigger than a wash basin. The next moment, the fireball smashed towards the long-legged female cultivator. The female cultivator quickly recalled her double hooks to block in front of her. With a loud bang, the double hooks were sent flying. Fortunately, the long-legged female cultivator had a Vajra protective shield, which allowed her to stabilize herself. However, at this moment, 2 more wheel-sized fireballs crashed down, sending the long-legged female cultivator flying backwards. She slammed heavily into the wall, her life status unknown. The fat cultivator was furious.
Second sister.
He stomped his foot and leaped out of the quicksand. He raised his hand and threw out several cross-shaped talismans. The 6 cross-shaped weapons let out a piercing shriek as they shot towards Bayou. These 6 weapons were not meant to kill Bayou but to block his movements. The fat cultivator, holding his earth shield, charged towards Bayou like a berserk beast with immense force. Bayou's expression remained unchanged. A long saber appeared in his hand.
Swish, swish, swish.
Several streaks of bloody saber chi shot out, shattering all the cross-shaped weapons. At this moment, the fat cultivator had already charged over. Spikes grew out of his earth shield as he charged forward. A green glint flashed in his eyes. This charge, combined with the power of his earth shield, was enough to break through the defense of a Vajra talisman. This blow would definitely turn the kid into a meat paste. However, just then, Bayou leaped up like an ape, kicking off the sidewall several times. In a few leaps, Bayou dodged the fat cultivator's charge and ended up behind him.
Soul severing slash. Bayou swung his saber. The bloody saber qui spread out, and a piece head flew high into the air, blood spurting out.
The fat cultivator was dead. Just then, a sound came from inside the room. It turned out that the long-legged female cultivator wasn't dead. She had managed to stick a few earth prison talismans on herself at the last moment, barely saving her life. She had only been knocked unconscious. By the time she woke up, she was the only one of the Black Wind 4 ghosts still alive. Bayou, without a second thought, pointed his artifact, the crimson long saber, to kill the long-legged female cultivator. The long-legged female cultivator cried out, Don't kill me. I am willing to submit to you, fellow Taoist. As long as you spare my life, I can be your concubine and serve you.
I will do whatever you want.
She had been injured in the explosion, and her clothes were torn, revealing large patches of fair skin. Her eyes were alluring as she looked at Bayou, deliberately prostrating herself on the ground so that Bayou could get a clearer view of the scenery on her chest. The long-legged female cultivator's face was full of pleading, but in her heart, she was thinking viciously, as long as this guy is overcome with lust, I will drag him down with me, even if it means my own death, to avenge my 3 brothers. To be fair, this long-legged female cultivator was not unattractive, and her figure was fiery. Bayou was dazzled by the sight of her fair flesh and asked with a lustful look, Really? Anything? The long-legged female cultivator was overjoyed. It seemed this guy had fallen for it. Young men were indeed susceptible to the charms of a woman. She quickly said, Of course I am now yours, master.
Please command me as you wish. I will do anything my master desire.
Bayou pointed to the corpses on the ground.
Well, you want to bury the black wind for ghosts.
You don't have a problem with that, do you? The long-legged female cultivator was stunned for a moment, not understanding what Bayou meant. Her mind raced. Could it be that he wants to win my heart by deliberately burying my brothers? It seems this kid is really overcome with lust and wants to take me as his concubine. She nodded, of course, master. After I am done, I will. Bayou's eyes returned to their usual clarity. He said faintly, then you can go and die. Another wheel-sized fireball crashed down, and the long-legged female cultivator was instantly burned to ashes. Now, the Black Wind Four ghosts had truly become ghosts. After finishing them off, Bayou began to search the bodies. The four of them had nearly 1,000 spirit stones combined. It was like becoming rich overnight. It would have taken Bayou several years to earn that many spirit stones. He also found a few decent artifacts, a saber, a sword, a pair of hooks, a trident, and an earth shield. Bayou was most interested in the earth shield, which was a mid-grade defensive artifact. Defensive artifacts were rarer and more expensive than offensive ones. In addition, he found some commonly used spirit talismans and pills. Bayou then entered the stone room and found more than 300 spirit stones, as well as a pile of miscellaneous glittering artifact fragments. In the corner of the room was a white skeleton. According to the memory fragments of the silent twin killers, this skeleton should also belong to a cultivator. A jade slip was left behind. It was after discovering this stone room that the silent twin killers had embarked on the path of cultivation. Later, they started robbing and killing, using this place as their treasure trove. Bayou did find a blue jade slip in the pile of miscellaneous items. He didn't have time to examine it and simply collected all the treasures in the room. Just as he finished, Lu Hongmei came in from outside. Bayou had been afraid she would get in the way, so he had her wait outside while he hid and killed the enemies. Lu Hongmei had waited for a long time and was still worried, so she decided to come and see. She was already prepared to die here together. But now, she looked at the corpses on the ground, then at the several storage bags on Bayou's waist, and was shocked beyond words.
Bayou. You qui êtes dem all. Bayou loged.
How could that be? The original owner of this cave left behind many traps. The Black Wind Four ghosts ran into the traps and were either killed or injured. I just took advantage of the situation. Lu Hongmei let out a long sigh of relief. Ah, so that's what happened.
Bay, I'm so glad you're okay.
I was so worried about you. If anything had happened to you, I wouldn't have been able to live on.
Bayou smiled.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
Sister Liu, you rest first.
I'll go bury these guys. After comforting Lu Hongmei, Bayou got busy with the funerals. He first buried the original owner of the cave. Although there was no reward, he then buried the highest level member of the four ghosts, the white-haired old man.
Funeral target, Lin Yan.
Identity, leader of the Black Wind Four ghosts, member of the Bai Hualin family. Cultivation, 7th layer Qi refining.
Base reward, spiritual power plus 50, life experience plus 99,999.
Optional rewards, golden toad breathing technique, fire spiritual root plus 4, firebird art, Qi and blood plus 423, jade slip plus 15, funeral participation, 61%. Bayou was startled. He hadn't expected this old man to be from the Bai Hualin family. The Bai Hualin family was best known for raising all kinds of spirit insects. Although not as powerful as the three major families of the Li Kingdom, they still had a golden core expert and were a dominant force in their region. Master Ku, who had sold Bayou the 8 trigrams cloud light formation, was also from the Lin family. It seemed he would have to be careful when encountering people from the Lin family in the future. Bayou brought his focus back to the funeral rewards. Nearly 100,000 life experience and 50 spiritual power points were already very generous. His own spiritual power was only a little over 300 points. This single reward increased it by 50 points. The more abundant one's spiritual power, the more powerful their spells and the longer they could fight. As for the optional rewards, Bayou thought for a moment and chose the Fire Spiritual Root plus 4. Cultivation techniques and spells could be bought with spirit stones, but spiritual roots were something that was difficult to change. Only a few legendary divine pills could alter one's spiritual root aptitude. Since he had a spiritual root option, he naturally prioritized it. Now, his Fire Spiritual Root aptitude had reached 9 points. Bayou nodded in satisfaction and then began to conduct the funerals for the other 3 Black Wind ghosts. One by one, the rewards came in. Funeral successful.
Base reward, Wood Spiritual Root plus 3, life experience plus 48,000.
Optional rewards, concealment art, basic wind taming art, rejuvenation art, spiritual power plus 38, green vine entanglement.
Funeral participation, 58%.
One additional reward may be selected. Funeral successful. Base reward, earth spiritual root plus 2, spiritual power plus 30. Optional rewards, spirit devouring earth essence, swift flight, giant shield art, earth armor assault, terrain art.
Funeral participation, 71%.
One additional reward may be selected. Funeral successful.
Base reward. 5 years of immortal Dao cultivation, life experience plus 33,782.
Optional rewards: Chi Gathering Art, Flying Stone Art, Quicksand Talisman, Ice Cone Talisman, Wood Golem Talisman, Heaven's Eye Art.
Funeral participation, 69%.
One additional reward may be selected. Bai Yu checked the rewards and was pleasantly surprised. First, second sister of the Black Wind Four Ghosts had actually dropped the Wind Taming Art. This wasn't the mortal version of wind taming but a proper branch of the immortal Dao's insect taming arts. With this skill, as long as he could find spirit winds in the future, he could convert them into combat power. He might even be able to harvest spiritual power. Bai Yu didn't think too much and chose the wind taming art. Next was fourth brother of the Black Wind, the Fat Cultivator. He was a body cultivator, and his main cultivation technique, the Spirit-Devouring Earth Essence, was also very special. Spirit-Devouring Earth Essence, Earth Rank, Low Grade. Compatibility with Heavenly Wolf Star Art, 78%. Since it could be fused with a martial arts technique, Bai Yu naturally wouldn't pass it up. He chose the Earth Essence technique and then invested life experience to fuse the two. Fusion successful. Obtained technique, Heavenly Wolf Spirit Devouring Art. Heavenly Wolf Spirit Devouring Art, Earth Rank, Low Grade. Can simultaneously absorb spiritual energy or Chi and blood essence and convert it into true Chi. This Heavenly Wolf Spirit Devouring Art was equivalent to having the characteristics of both a mortal martial artist and an immortal body cultivator. It was practically tailor-made for Bai Yu. Perhaps in the future, he could forge a new path for martial artists. Finally, there was the reward from the tall, skinny cultivator. He turned out to be a talisman master, capable of crafting various talismans like the Quicksand Talisman, Ice Cone Talisman, and Wood Golem Talisman, all of which were Shen rank low grade. Bai Yu thought for a moment and finally chose the Quicksand Talisman. He was a feng shui master, and his combat power would be qualitatively changed when combined with earth element spells. With the Quicksand Talisman, he would at least not have to spend a lot of money to buy it in the future. After collecting the rewards, Bai Yu was in high spirits. In just half a day, his strength had soared. He glanced at his Immortal Path panel. Name, Bai Yu. Immortal Cultivation, 4th Layer Chi Refining.
Spiritual Power, 404. Spiritual Route Aptitude, Fire 9, Wood 4, Earth 7. Technique, Avant Lit Flammard, Minor Accomplishment.
Divine Abilities and Spells, Storm Fireball, Minor Accomplishment, Petrification Art, Adept, Life Nurturing Art, Adept, Soaring Art Mastery, Divine Armor and Spirit Horse, Dust Dispelling Art. Skills, Fireball Talisman, Minor Accomplishment, Earthwall Talisman, Entry Level, Quicksand Talisman, Not Started, Wind Taming Art, Not Started. His Chi Refining 4th Layer Cultivation had reached 86%. His Fire Spiritual Root Aptitude had reached 9 points. Bai Yu was delighted, but he took a few deep breaths to calm himself. This feeling of rapid strength increase was addictive, which was not a good sign. If he became addicted to the thrill of these power spikes, he might be tempted to take risks repeatedly in the future to seek shortcuts. A survivalist who repeatedly takes risks is courting death. Even if each risk had a 99% success rate, after 100 times, the probability of not having an accident was only 37%. After 500 times, the probability was only 6.7%. The most important thing for a survivalist is stability. Bai Yu thought for a moment, suppressing his restless thoughts, and secretly warned himself, slow is fast. Time is not valuable. I must not be impatient. Finally, after finishing the funeral matters, Bai Yu looked at Lu Hongmei. Sister Lu, it's all taken care of. Let's go. Lu Hongmei nodded. Bai, if it weren't for you this time, I would have fallen into the hands of those villains. I don't know how I can never repay you.
Bai Yu smiled.
Sister Lu, you're being too formal. We can talk about repayment later. The two of them quickly left the battlefield and found a hidden cave where they found Old Mo, who had been hiding there. Old Mo couldn't fly, so he was no help in the previous battle. Bai Yu had him hide first and wait at a designated spot. Bai Yu set up the 8 trigrams cloud light formation at the cave entrance. Although the formation had been broken, the array flags were not destroyed and had been collected by the white-haired old man. Now they were back in their rightful owner's hands. For the next month, Bai Yu and Lu Hongmei meditated and cultivated here, waiting for the situation outside to calm down. When most of the cultivators who had come for the Flying Immortal Convention had dispersed, the two of them came out of the cave. Lu Hongmei's eyes were red. Bai, I'm leaving.
The path of immortality is too dangerous.
I just want to go back to my hometown and live in seclusion. Sister Lu, have a safe trip.
Liu Hongmei hesitated, Bai, il miss you.
Me too. The two were silent.
In the end, they parted way.
It is better to forget each other in the rivers and lakes than to moisten each other with spit. After Lu Hongmei left, the first thing Bai Yu did was to go back to the original treasure cave, dig up the Black Wind Four Ghosts, and destroy their corpses, eliminating all traces. After handling everything, he returned to Songyan Market and began the next phase of his plan. His next goal, become a second-rank talisman master. For safety, Bai rented a small courtyard in Songyun Market. The market had law enforcement from Biluo Spring, so safety was not a concern. However, the rent was 200 spirit stones per year. Bai used his haggling skills and managed to get it down to 108 spirit stones. If the landlord hadn't almost drawn his sword to cut him down, Bai could have haggled even lower. In the small courtyard, Bai set up the 8 trigrams cloud light formation and then began to formulate his first 5-year plan. The main goal for the next 5 years was to become a second-rank talisman master. Then he could infiltrate an immortal sect and begin his grand funeral business. A second-rank talisman master needed to master 10 types of spirit talismans, including 1 Shen rank, mid-grade 1. To master so many talismans in 5 years was an almost impossible task for an ordinary cultivator. But Bai had life experience, so he thought it wouldn't be too difficult. Besides making talismans, he couldn't neglect cultivation and martial arts. He also had to gather as much information as possible about the various sects. After making his plan, Bai began his immortal cultivation life, meditating to refine qi, practicing his fist techniques, drawing talismans, and setting up a stall. Time flowed peacefully, and Bai steadily advanced his plan. Every few months, he would learn a new dialect. A year later, Bai sold out of his spirit talismans and went to another stall to buy several dozen pounds of mango beef. The mango ox was a first-tier demonic beast, with rich qi and blood. Its meat was delicious and affordable. 1 spirit stone could buy 10 pounds. In the small courtyard, Bai set up a hot pot and started eating with Old Mo. Old Mo had been diligently studying artifact refining, but with no spirit fire and not being human, his progress was extremely slow. However, under Bai's guidance, he had learned to make a hot pot and a pressure cooker. Bai added various spices to the hot pot, then put in beef, large prawns, meatballs, and other ingredients. The steaming hot pot was fragrant and tantalizing. Old Mo squatted to the side, watching eagerly, his mouth watering. Wine, meat, hot pot, and a dog. This steaming, worldly life was truly to die for. Old Mo couldn't wait any longer. Woof woof. Can we eat yet? Can we eat yet? Bai picked up a piece of meat. It might not be fully cooked yet. Let me try it first. Yep, not cooked. Needs to cook a little longer.
Let me try again.
Ah, still not cooked.
Let me try one more time.
By the time Bai had tasted a pound of beef, Old Mo finally realized what was happening. He pounced on Bai, knocking him to the ground. Woof woof. You're not fair. I'm writing you down in my little black book. Bai laughed heartily and started to share the beef with Old Mo. The man and the dog ate until their mouths were greasy, exclaiming in satisfaction. After eating and drinking their fill, Bai patted his round belly and said with a chuckle, Old Mo, don't you worry. As long as you're with me, I'll make sure you eat well and live well. As long as I have a bite to eat, you'll have a bowl to wash. Old Mo, who had been touched at first, immediately became angry when he heard wash bowls. Woof woof. You ate a pound more beef than me.
I'm not washing your bowl.
Humph. After a bit of roughhousing, Bai and Old Mo finally stopped. Old Mo started tinkering with his artifact refining furnace in the small courtyard. Although he had never successfully refined a single artifact, he was still full of determination, declaring that if once wasn't enough, he would try 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. One day, I will become the greatest artifact refiner. Seeing Old Mo so motivated, Bai was also greatly encouraged. He sat cross-legged and began to circulate the heavenly wolf spirit devouring art. As the technique operated, his true qi flowed endlessly. Bai's round belly visibly deflated. The essence of the dozens of pounds of beef in his stomach was completely absorbed and transformed into pure qi and blood energy, which was then refined into heavenly wolf true qi. In just half a day, Bai suddenly opened his eyes. The energy from these dozens of pounds of beef had been converted into a stream of true qi, equivalent to a month of his usual cultivation. He now had 66 years of heavenly wolf true qi. 1 year of his true qi was equivalent to 10 years of an ordinary martial artist's internal energy. Moreover, all this true qi had been refined by the bloody baleful qi of the Bloody Hand sect. Bai's martial arts cultivation had reached the peak of the coagulating baleful qi realm. He only needed to refine the baleful qi into steel-like qi to step into the gang qi realm. After the gang qi realm was the great grandmaster of martial arts. Only one such person appeared in a country every 500 years. Bai was very satisfied. Cultivating martial arts with demonic beast flesh was more effective than he had imagined. This further strengthened his idea of dual cultivating the immortal and martial paths. In the following days, Bai put down roots in Songyun Peak. He methodically carried out his 5-year plan. His immortal and martial cultivation slowly increased, and the number of talismans he mastered also grew: rejuvenation talisman, ice chase talisman, strength talisman. His fame in the market gradually grew. Every time he went out to sell talismans, they would sell out quickly. Gradually, the nearby cultivators all knew of a talisman master Kai in the market. His talismans were of high quality, just a bit more expensive. He had a good reputation among the rogue cultivators. Moreover, if you bought several talismans at once, he would give you a consecrated Saraira as a gift. On this day, Bai Yu set up a table in his small courtyard. He was preparing to draw a Xian rank, mid-grade talisman, the Fire Yu talisman. He didn't rush to draw the talisman but first went to worship a deity. A few days ago, he had old Mo carve a statue of Guan Gong. It wasn't that he was a devout follower of Guan Yu, but it was a way to commemorate his past life. Bai Yu lit a stick of incense and prayed, "Guan Yu above, your disciple is setting up an altar today to create a talisman.
Please bless me.
If this is successful, I will burn you a red hair horse." Afterward, Bai Yu washed his hands, burned incense, mixed the ink, and ground the inkstone, adjusting his state to the optimum. He held the brush and began to draw with fluid, powerful strokes. However, when he was more than halfway done, the talisman paper ignited without any wind. After a while, Bai Yu lit another stick of incense for Guan Gong. "Guan Yu above, your disciple is setting up an altar again.
Please bless me.
If this is successful, I will burn you an electric scooter. That thing is much better than a red hair." Bai Yu began to draw again. This time, he wasn't even halfway done when the talisman paper exploded, singeing his face black. Bai Yu was speechless. His luck was terrible. 2 attempts, and neither was successful. A Xian rank, mid-grade talisman paper cost 1 spirit stone a sheet. Bai Yu washed his face and prayed to Guan Yu again. "Guan Yu above, your disciple is setting up an altar today.
Please bless me.
If this is successful, I will burn you a Diaochan." This time, the talisman drawing went surprisingly smoothly. It was a masterpiece of flowing strokes. A Fire Yu talisman was successfully created.
Fire Yu talisman. Shukun get forbidden. 11,000/1,000,000.
Bai Yu was overjoyed. He had mastered a mid-grade talisman. Becoming a second-ranked talisman master was just around the corner. He immediately made 2 paper figures and burned them for Guan Yu, 1 Diaochan and 1 Xiao Qiao, both voluptuous. Guan Yu could choose for himself. While he was at it, he also made an electric scooter and burned it as well. That night, Bai Yu had a dream. Guan Yu, holding his green dragon crescent blade, came speeding on an electric scooter. His face was as red as a jujube, and he said he was very satisfied with Diaochan, but why was there only Xiao Qiao and not De Qiao?
Bai Yu woke up from the dream.
Good grief, Guan Yu has quite the taste.
Time flee like a shuttle.
5 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 5 years, Bai Yu successfully became a second-ranked talisman master and had saved up a small fortune in the market. During this period, he also bought many pills and raised his cultivation to the 5th layer of qi refining. Finally, the once every 5 years flying immortal convention arrived as scheduled. This time, Bai Yu was determined to get a spot in a sect and begin his grand funeral plan. Because in these 5 years, in order to become a second-ranked talisman master, he had used up almost all of his life experience and was in urgent need of funeral experience to replenish it. During this period, many cultivators came from all directions, and Songyun Market became lively again. Bai Yu changed his stall and put up a sign, "Sect Application Tutoring, One-on-One Guidance." Soon, Bai Yu welcomed his first customer, a simple-looking young man with a green face. He stepped forward and asked, "Fellow Taoist, what is application tutoring?" Bai Yu said with confidence, "The grand competition before the Flying Immortal Convention is a real fight. The top 100 will get a spot. But after the grand competition, the major powers have their own small tests. There are many tricks to it." The simple young man became interested and asked, "What tricks?" Bai Yu smiled mysteriously. "For example, the Great Chan Monastery. Their recruitment requirements are very special. They like to recruit people with great fortune."
The young man's eyes lit up.
He quickly asked, "How do you count as having great fortune?" Bai Yu's lips curved upwards as he rubbed his fingers together.
1 spirit stone for the consultation.
The simple young man scratched his head in embarrassment and handed over a spirit stone. Only then did Bai Yu clear his throat and say, "The fortune of Buddhism is hard to find, but not impossible. For example, the relics of a great monk, a kasaya, a lotus pedestal, a saraira, etc.
The simple young man was troubled.
That's too hard to find. A saraira is the crystallization of a great monk's entire being." Bai Yu smiled mysteriously and took out a saraira. "It's because it's hard to find that it's called fortune. This one is 3 spirit stones." The young man paid the 3 spirit stones and asked, "So this is fortune? But I'm not good with words. I don't know what to say then." Bai Yu smiled mysteriously. "No problem. I also have a custom-made fortune story."
5 spirit stones. Bai Yu tailored a story for the simple young man.
The gist was that he had once saved a seriously injured old monk. The old monk's chanting could make a tiger become a vegetarian and a stubborn stone nod in understanding. In the end, the old monk self-immolated and turned into a saraira. Don't think this is fake. What monk can make a stubborn stone nod in understanding? Even a nascent soul ancestor couldn't do that. But the Buddhist sect loves to boast. After thousands of years of boasting, they've even come to believe it themselves. The thing about religious belief is that you have to deceive yourself before you can deceive others. For example, there was a woman who became pregnant without being married and claimed the child was from a god. After giving birth, she was still a virgin. It's ridiculous, right? The key is that her husband believed it, and so did over 1 billion people, calling her the Holy Virgin. After Bai Yu's guidance, the simple young man had an epiphany. He repeatedly bowed to Bai Yu. Listening to you, sir, is better than reading for 10 years. These few spirit stones were well spent. He took the Saraira and left with great enthusiasm. Just like that, Bai Yu began to give one-on-one guidance. For those who wanted to enter the Great Chan Monastery, it was a 3-piece set of Buddhist scriptures, a Saraira, and a Buddhist story. He guaranteed that their fortune would be profound. There was no fortune that spirit stones couldn't buy. If there was, it just meant not enough spirit stones. For those who wanted to join the Tai sword sect, he packaged them as swordsmen from the mortal world, white clothes as pure as snow, a resolute face, carrying a long sword, and roaming the world. To be a swordsman, you need a good sword, right? 100 refined steel sword, 2 spirit stones. With a good sword, you also need to learn a mortal sword technique, right?
A mortal sword manual, 5 spirit stones.
For this once every 5 years opportunity, Bai Yu had made ample preparations. Things that were usually worthless were sold by him at the price of spirit items. He didn't even sell his talismans anymore. He made a fortune just by giving application guidance. Of course, not all sects had such tricks. For example, someone wanted to join the Sunu sect. Bai Yu couldn't help with that. The Sunu sect preferred to recruit female cultivators, preferably virgins. Who could solve that? Bai Yu couldn't perform a gender change. Someone else came to ask about the Leiyang sect. Bai Yu could only guess, perhaps this sect has a preference for that sort of thing. Even so, Bai Yu made a fortune. In a few days, he earned several hundred spirit stones, which was much more than he made from selling talismans. In any world, it's easier to make money through information asymmetry. However, there was never a shortage of smart people in this world. The popularity of Bai Yu's business made others see the opportunity. Many learned the secret from Bai Yu and then turned around and sold it to others. Some even directly became second-hand dealers and also acted as so-called application guidance teachers. These second-hand dealers were extremely bold and would boast about anything. They couldn't make up fortune stories or teach sword techniques, so they resorted to all sorts of crooked methods.
Want to enter the Sunu sect?
They'll give you pigeon blood to pretend to be a virgin. Want to enter the... What was it? The Leiyang sect was said to have a preference for that sort of thing? I have a rabbit boy costume here, most attractive to those with
Alternative Tast.
In just a few days, the application guidance market was thrown into chaos. Bai Yu, seeing the situation was not good, was annoyed. These guys are making such a mess, sooner or later it will implicate me. Fortunately, he had used a disguise before and hadn't even sold any talismans. He immediately closed his stall, changed his appearance, and then went to watch the Flying Immortal Grand Competition with old Mo, same spot, same melon seeds and drinks, watching the show. This time, the situation was even more intense than the last. Cultivators from all sides showed off their skills, and the fighting was incredibly exciting. More than 100 cultivators died in battle. Every so often, someone would be carried off. Bai Yu looked at the corpses with greedy eyes. These are all life experience packs. Unfortunately, without the status of one of the 6 sects, touching these things on a large scale was asking for death. After the grand competition, this year's 100 spots were selected. The sea of blue-robed 8th and 9th level cultivators finally gave way to the small tests of the various sects. However, this year's small tests were a bit different. The Great Chan Monastery's office was filled with a group of bald heads, each holding a Saraira and telling their unforgettable story with Master Tripitaka or Zen Master Fahai. The Tai sword sect's place was crowded with a group of Jianghu swordsmen, each carrying a sword and posing coolly, their pretentious auras overflowing. At first, the various sects were overjoyed. They hadn't expected so many good seedlings this year. But as time went on, they felt more and more that something was wrong. Where did all these Master Tripitakas from the Li Kingdom pop out from, dying in 100 different ways to leave behind 100 Sarairas? And the instigator of all this, Bai Yu, had chosen his own target, the Leiyang sect. This was the only major power in the Li Kingdom that practiced both spellcasting and body cultivation. The Leiyang sect had a huge number of disciples, and their disciples were even more competitive than those of the Tai sword sect. In other words, they were more likely to die. Bai Yu was just hoping that some people in his sect would die. So, he stepped into the Leiyang sect's office. Surprisingly, there weren't many people in the Leiyang sect's office. When a 7th-layer disciple saw Bai Yu enter, he handed him a token. Those participating in the normal assessment, go to the left. If you have unique aptitude or special skills, follow Senior Uncle Lu to the right for an interview.
Bai Yu understood.
The left was for ordinary candidates, like in his past life, while the right was for those with special talents. Coincidentally, Bai Yu was now an art student, specializing in drawing talismans. He entered the room on the right. Inside was a refined-looking middle-aged man with a long beard. This man was a foundation establishment expert, presumably the so-called senior Uncle Lu. Bai Yu quickly bowed and said, "Senior, I am a talisman master, here to participate in the assessment." Senior Uncle Lu's brows were furrowed, and he seemed to be in a bad mood. He just nodded faintly and then pointed to a stone table. With a wave of his hand, a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone appeared on it. "There are 15 sheets of talisman paper here. Draw 10 spirit talismans, one of which must be a mid-grade one, and you'll pass." Bai Yu frowned slightly. Wait, why are the requirements so high? Weren't the previous year's assessments just drawing 10 out of 20 sheets? 15 sheets to draw 10 requires a success rate of 2/3. This is already higher than a typical second-ranked talisman master. He calmly stepped forward, spread the paper, ground the ink, and checked the brush, all in an orderly manner. Secretly, he added his last bit of emergency life experience to the Fire U talisman. Fire U talisman, minor accomplishment, 1-000/1-000-000. Obtained, basic talisman crafting plus 32. After the Fire U talisman reached minor accomplishment, Bai Yu had mastered a type of talisman, and it had transformed into basic talisman crafting. From now on, his insights into the Fireball talisman and Fire U talisman could also be applied to other similar talismans. However, it was a bit of a pity that talisman crafting couldn't be directly leveled up. He had to improve his proficiency by crafting various talismans. Bai Yu's face was calm, but in his heart, he was thinking of Guan Yu, secretly praying, "Guan Yu above, please bless your disciple to pass this assessment.
If he succède, ILL burn at a Kiao for you when he get back.
And I'll also burn you a solar panel to charge your electric scooter." Bai Yu calmed his mind and began to draw with fluid, powerful strokes, not rushing, but meticulously drawing each stroke of the talisman. For the first one, he chose his most proficient Fireball talisman. As expected, it was a success. After that, there were failures and successes. Fortunately, his state was good today. In the end, after using 13 sheets of talisman paper, he finally successfully drew 10 spirit talismans. When Bai Yu handed over the 10 spirit talismans, the anger on senior Uncle Lu's face subsided a lot. He said to Bai Yu in a gentle voice, "I didn't expect to encounter a second-ranked talisman master this time. Very good." He asked Bai Yu a few questions about his background, which Bai Yu answered one by one. Not long after, senior Uncle Lu handed him a token. "From now on, you are a member of the Leiyang sect.
The sect will protect you. This is your disciple token. By the way, my name is Luming.
You can call me senior uncle." Bai Yu respectfully took the disciple token and said, "Disciple Bai Yu greets senior Uncle Lu." Senior Uncle Lu pointed behind him to a stone tomb. "Ah, there are 2 other disciples inside who have also passed the assessment. You can go in and get to know them." Bai Yu bowed to senior Uncle Lu and then entered the stone tomb. Inside the stone tomb, 2 young men were chatting. One was sturdy and wore simple clothes. The other wore a white robe, and his eyes were surprisingly golden. He was handsome and had a graceful demeanor. The sturdy young man took the initiative to greet Bai Yu. Oh, another one passed.
Hello, Seigneur Broder. My name is Shijian, from the Shi family of Wulongmuntin.
Bai Yu quickly said, "You're too kind."
Greeting, Seigneur Broder Shi.
"My name is Bai Yu, just a rogue cultivator who knows how to draw a few talismans." The Shi family of Wulong Mountain was also a famous immortal cultivation family with a golden core spirit lord. The simple-looking, slightly stuttering Shi Jian was actually from a golden core family. Shi Jian then pointed to the red-robed young man next to him and introduced to Bai Yu, "This is Liu Beichen. Brother Lu. He's not simple. His constitution is special and he was directly recruited by the sect. He has the famous
Tai.
Bai Yu was shocked.
Teji body?
Or Tai sword body. Or Taijin body, eunuch body? Bai Yu looked at Liu Beichen with suspicion. This guy looked so handsome, almost as handsome as Bai Yu himself. He hadn't expected him to be a eunuch. So young, and already unable to perform? Liu Beichen quickly said, "No brother Bai, let me explain. It's not
What you think?
I'm not unable. It's just that my body's condition doesn't allow it, you know." Bai Yu became even more suspicious. What does body's condition doesn't allow it mean? Could it be that he's already missed the opportunity? For a man, that's a great loss. Shi Jian giggled foolishly. "Let me explain. Brother Lu has the Taiyang body, sun body. It's naturally extremely young. He can't touch women. It's commonly known as the Taijin body, eunuch body." Bai Yu finally understood. So it was the sun body. Yin and Yang could be divided into greater Yang, lesser Yang, greater Yin, and lesser Yin. Greater Yang was the ultimate Yang. The sun body was a famous spirit body, with extremely fast cultivation and outstanding combat power. However, this spirit body had a fatal flaw: it couldn't lose its virginity. Once it did, its strength would plummet. Moreover, when they came into contact with women, their bodies would experience intense pain. Thus, it was known in the cultivation world as the Taijian body, eunuch body. At this moment, Shi Jian added, Brother Lu's family is incredible. They have a hereditary son body. This sentence almost made Bai Yu's brain explode. A hereditary eunuch body? How is this passed down? Of course, Bai Yu wasn't stupid enough to ask this out loud. He greeted the two of them and soon they were chatting away. Shi Jian was honest and gentle. Lu Beichen, in general, was very easy to get along with. Plus, Bai Yu was knowledgeable, so the three of them quickly hit it off. Through their conversation, they learned that none of them had entered through the normal assessment. Shi Jian was from the Shi family, so he didn't need to be tested. He was an internally decided student who had entered through the back door. Lu Beichen had a special constitution, the sun body, making him an athlete, so to speak. Bai Yu was a second-ranked talisman master, barely counting as an art student. As they were chatting enthusiastically, two senior brothers from the Leiyang sect walked in. They looked shaken. One of the skinny senior brothers said, "Damn it, I don't know who started the rumor that our Leiyang sect has a southern wind homosexuality, and a preference for that sort of thing." All the candidates who came for the assessment were dressed up gaudily. A group of grown men, all wearing gaudy clothes and rouge, posing seductively. It almost made me puke. The other also said, "Isn't that the truth? I finally came out to taste some mortal delicacies, and today I threw it all up. Damn it, don't let me catch the person who started this rumor." The skinny senior brother then said, "Seeing you three junior brothers, I finally see some normal people. Otherwise, I would really go crazy. By the way, you three junior brothers, have you heard about this rumor?" Shi Jian said, I and Brother Lu are not from around here." Bai Yu said that he had been in the market for a long time. The few people in the room all looked at Bai Yu. "Junior brother Bai, do you know where this rumor came from?" Bai Yu quickly shook his head. "How would I know?" Bai Yu said with a righteous tone, "What kind of person would dare to slander the reputation of our Leiyang sect? I will not rest until he is brought to justice. It's either him or me." The two senior brothers saw Bai Yu's reaction and nodded in satisfaction. They didn't expect this junior brother Bai to have such a strong sense of honor for the sect. The skinny senior brother said, "Junior brother Bai is a good person." The two senior brothers rested for a while and then continued to go out for the assessment. This year's small tests of the various sects were a complete mess. For example, the Great Chan Monastery recruited over 100 disciples with fortune. They had already recruited them, so they couldn't just kick them out. The sarairas they produced were all real. The 6 major sects discovered that something was wrong and began to crack down. They sent out law enforcement teams to arrest a bunch of second-hand dealers who were giving application guidance. Giving guidance was one thing, but they were also spreading rumors. Those second-hand dealers were naturally dealt with severely by the sections. The disciples of the Leiyang sect were especially furious and were very heavy-handed. "You dare to spread rumors that we have a preference for that sort of thing, making us puke all day." After arresting a batch, the 6 major sects issued a notice to rectify the assessment, which finally stabilized the situation. This had nothing to do with Bai Yu. He just needed to wait quietly. Finally, the grand competition and small tests of the 6 sects came to an end. Senior Uncle Lu released a flying boat and took the more than 100 new disciples to the Leiyang sect. Bai Yu got on the flying boat and looked down at Songyun Market below, feeling a bit wistful and reluctant to leave. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. He had gotten used to the peaceful life in the market. It was like graduating from high school. There was always a complex mix of anticipation, nostalgia, and reluctance. However, when he saw the law enforcement teams of the 6 sects beating up a few rumor-mongers, he immediately felt relieved.
Go, go, go. The faster, the better.
Finally, the flying boat entered the deep white clouds, passed through numerous mountains, and arrived at the Leiyang sect.
A mountain peak soared into the clouds.
The green mountains were vast, the white clouds were ethereal, and the spiritual energy was abundant. White cranes flew in the sky, their cries echoing. In the mountain forest, there were all kinds of exotic flowers and plants. White apes and spirit vultures played freely. From a distance, it was a paradise of immortals. The flying boat passed through the thick white clouds, and the view suddenly opened up. On the top of the majestic green mountain was a large complex of palaces and pavilions, magnificent and splendid, like a celestial palace floating on the white clouds. Bai Yu was secretly amazed. It was truly a great immortal sect, ethereal and otherworldly, yet not lacking in grandeur. A chorus of gasps erupted on the flying boat. The other disciples were also stunned by this magnificent immortal scene. Senior Uncle Lu, seeing everyone's reaction, was pleased and explained to the crowd, "Ahead is Julei Peak, the location of our Leiyang sect's headquarters. This peak was originally a giant volcano that erupted once every 100 years. Our sect's founding ancestor, a great immortal, suppressed the earth's veins with his great divine ability and established the Leiyang sect here. This peak has earth fire below and celestial thunder above. Therefore, our Leiyang sect has the power of thunder and fire." This made the new disciples even more amazed. Suppressing a giant volcano, what kind of power was that? Bai Yu was both surprised and delighted. He had finally infiltrated an immortal sect. With the title of a Leiyang sect disciple, conducting funerals in the future would be much more convenient. The flying boat slowly descended, and everyone arrived at a plaza. With a wave of Senior Uncle Lu's hand, sect disciples who had been waiting there came forward and gave each new disciple a backpack. Bai Yu took the backpack and glanced inside. There were 2 sets of Taoist robes, a long sword, and some sword-riding pills, talismans and other items. Bai Yu nodded to himself. The Leiyang sect seemed to be very generous. The robes and sword alone were not cheap. Lu Beichen explained from the side, "This is the Thunderfire Taoist robe, made from fire silkworm silk. It doesn't need to be washed, just burn it with fire, and it will be as clean as new. It also has considerable defensive capabilities. This sword is called the Thunderfire Sword, a low-grade artifact, our sect's standard weapon. The sword-riding pills are Lesser Yang Star pills, the sect's most basic heart method." Shi Jian took out a few jade talismans and asked naively, Brother Lu, what are these white jade things?" Lu Beichen said, "These are called jade talismans, a type of reusable spirit talisman. They contain fire-starting talismans, blood-stopping talismans, water-condensing talismans, body-cleansing talismans, etc. They are very convenient for daily use." The world of immortal cultivation was truly wonderful. He wondered what other surprises awaited him. Bai Yu couldn't help but look forward to it. At this moment, Senior Uncle Lu said loudly, "From now on, you are disciples of the Leiyang sect.
The sect will protect you.
For the next year, the sect will provide cultivation resources. You only need to focus on cultivation. After 1 year, there will be a sect minor competition. Those who rank high will be heavily rewarded. The bottom 10% will be eliminated. The eliminated disciples must accept sect missions to earn their own cultivation resources." The atmosphere of the 6 major sects was different. Some were tranquil, some were diligent, and some were full of killing intent. The Leiyang sect was very generous to its disciples, but the competition was fierce. The outstanding were heavily rewarded, while the failures were eliminated. No wonder they said the disciples of the Leiyang sect were very competitive. Bai Yu immediately decided that for the next year, he would do his best to get himself eliminated. He would find a job early and lie flat, taking a shortcut of several decades. After Senior Uncle Lu finished his instructions, he added, "The sect has assigned you senior brothers to guide you. If you have any questions in the next year, you can ask your guide senior brother.
I wish you all a bright future and a smooth immortal path."
With a wave of his hand, streaks of fiery light shot from the sky. In the light were at least late-stage chi refining disciples, presumably the guide senior brothers. The most eye-catching was a female cultivator in a red dress. She wore a red dress like fire, carried a long sword on her back, and was heroic and valiant. Her eyebrows were like swords, and her features were picturesque. She was a stunning beauty. The eyes of all the disciples in the plaza lit up, and they couldn't help but glance at the woman in red. Lu Beichen was stunned and swallowed. "This senior sister is too beautiful. From the first moment I saw her, I've already thought of our children's names." Bai Yu nodded. "I'm 1 step ahead. I've already thought of his funeral." In Bai Yu's eyes, these weren't senior brothers and sisters, but a group of flying funeral golden swallows. Lu Beichen chuckled. "I didn't expect old Bai to be a fellow enthusiast."
It's a pleasure to meet you.
At this moment, Shi Jian said, Brother Lu, what's the use of you with your sun body, saying all this?" Lu Beichen said seriously, "Who says it's useless? Although my body's condition is limited, it can't stop my passionate heart. I am determined to woo all the beauties in the world." A eunuch body who wants to woo girls, isn't that just asking for trouble?
Bai Yu loged.
Good grief, I didn't expect Brother Lu to be a sea king.
What is a sea king?
The world is like a sea, and beauties are like fish.
A love of beauty is like a fish belly.
A sea king is the king of fish bellies, able to net all the beautiful fish in the world.
Lu Beichen loged artili. Sea king. I like it, I like it.
From now on, I, Lu Beichen, will become the man who will be the sea king. Lu Beichen declared that he wanted to become the sea king. Bai Yu and Shi Jian cast a contemptuous look at him. Shameless. Pervert. The morals of the world are in decline. Shi Jian asked, Brother
Bai, you're not. The same Brother Lu, are you?
Bai Yu snorted coldly. I'm not like him. My philosophy is, of the 3,000 weak waters, I only take 1 scoop. Shi Jian praised, Brother Bai is a decent person. I'll take 1 scoop of each of the 3,000 weak waters.
Shi Jian. Point.
The 3 of them were whispering here. In the sky, Senior Uncle Lu began to assign tasks. 5 people per group, each group assigned a guide senior brother or sister. When it was the red-robed woman's turn, Senior Uncle Lu was clearly a bit surprised.
Yan Li, why are you here?
The red-robed woman said, I came out to stretch my legs and take on a mission. Senior Uncle Lu seemed to be a bit afraid of the red-robed woman. He said, how about this? There are 3 who came in through special channels over there. Yanli, you can take them. The red-robed woman nodded and landed in front of the 3 of them. From now on, I am your guide, senior sister.
Remember my name, I'm Yanli.
Liu Beichen was overjoyed and quickly bowed.
Greeting, Senior Sister Yanli.
Baiyu glanced at senior sister Yanli and found that she was not only beautiful but also had an amazing figure, especially her chest, which was like a mountain. He also quickly bowed to the senior sister.
Greeting, Senior Sister Yanli.
Yanli nodded faintly. Follow me. I'll take you to choose your residences first. Baiyu and the others followed Yanli, flying all the way to a row of houses. These houses were all built of marble and surrounded by protective formations. The 3 of them each chose a small courtyard, not far from each other. If you have any questions in the next year, you can ask me. Senior sister Yanli left these words and then left on her own. That night, Baiyu held a jade slip and placed it on his forehead. A stream of information soon flowed into his mind. Lesser Yang Star Art. This was an Earth-rank, mid-grade technique. It could be practiced by anyone, regardless of their spiritual root attribute or gender, making it perfect for refining chi and building a foundation. Lesser Yang Star Art, Earth-rank, mid-grade. Compatibility with Heavenly Flame Art, 68%. Baiyu was overjoyed. He hadn't expected it could be fused. He thought to himself, I only have about 10,000 funeral experience left, but it should be enough to fuse the techniques. He invested over 1,000 life experience to fuse the 2 techniques. Fusion successful. Obtained technique, Heavenly Yang Art.
Avant Liangar, Earth Rank, Upper Grade. Proficiency, Minor Accomplishment, 2,560/1,000,000.
Baiyu calmed his mind and began to circulate the Heavenly Yang Art. After one cycle, his whole body felt warm, and his spiritual power had also increased by a tiny bit. The cultivation speed of the Heavenly Yang Art was more than twice as fast as the original Heavenly Flame Art. Baiyu nodded in satisfaction. Immortal sects were indeed full of surprises. In the following days, Baiyu began his immortal cultivation life. On the 1st and 15th of every month, he would go to the sect's lecturing platform to listen to lectures. The lecturers would teach various cultivation methods, combat experience, and immortal cultivation common sense. Baiyu listened with great interest each time and benefited greatly. His knowledge of the cultivation world was also constantly increasing. He couldn't help but sigh to himself. Choosing the Leiyang sect was indeed the right decision. The sect was very responsible towards its new disciples. In the Leiyang sect, there were lecturers and guide senior brothers. If you encountered any problems, you could ask for help at any time. In contrast, some sects would just let their disciples fend for themselves after recruiting them, which was very irresponsible. Just like that, everyone began their sect life. Liu Beichen vowed, I will definitely get into the top 15 in this sect's minor competition, and in the grand competition in 5 years, I will get into the top 3. Shi Jian also nodded.
Let's all work hard.
The top few in the grand competition in 5 years will be rewarded with foundation establishment pills. The 2 of them began to make cultivation plans. Baiyu's thoughts were completely different from theirs. He just wanted to be eliminated early and then go to conduct funerals. As for a cultivation plan, it was completely unnecessary. With his spiritual root aptitude, he could be eliminated on his own merit. So, Liu Beichen and Shi Jian began their intense cultivation. Baiyu also cultivated step by step, but his progress was slow. There's nothing difficult in the world, as long as you're willing to give up. He simply lay flat and let nature take its course, focusing his main energy on learning a few more spells. 2 months later, senior sister Yanli came to check on everyone's cultivation progress. She stood with her hands behind her back and held out one hand.
You 3, attaque me together.
If you can make me move a single step, you pass. After getting to know her for a while, the 3 of them finally discovered senior sister Yanli's true nature. Sometimes she was like a. The 3 of them looked at each other, but none of them dared to step forward. In these 2 months, the 3 of them had been beaten up by senior sister Yanli quite a bit. Finally, Baiyu roared and took the lead, throwing out several fireball talismans. Liu Beichen and Shi Jian, from the left and right, each brandished their artifacts and charged toward senior sister Yanli. A moment later, there were 3 more pits on the ground. The 3 of them lay in the pits in disarray. Senior sister Yanli said faintly, Liu Beichen has made great progress, advancing 1 layer in 2 months. Shi Jian is also not bad, his strength is steadily increasing. Then she looked at Baiyu. As for
Little Bei,
she thought for a long time before she could find the words to describe him. His performance is stable, and he has strong practical skills. Baiyu's aptitude was truly earth-shattering. Senior sister Yanli had never seen anyone with such poor aptitude in her life. Baiyu, with his renowned aptitude, climbed up and said, Senior sister, I don't expect to improve my cultivation much. He took out a gourd from his storage bag. I just brewed this Leiyang fire wine. It's very potent.
A little something for you.
He opened the gourd, and a rich aroma of wine wafted out. Senior sister Yen Li's eyes were fixed on the wine gourd and couldn't move away. That's right, senior sister Yen Li was a drunkard. She threw her arm around Bai Yu's neck, and her mountainous chest pressed against Bai Yu's face, almost deforming it. You're the one who knows what I like. Bai Yu felt immense pressure.
Senior sister, let's go first. You have something to say.
What? The senior sister snatched the wine gourd and gulped it down, exclaiming in satisfaction.
Let's go, come into my room.
Let's do that thing.
Isn't this
a bit inappropriate? Last time we did it, didn't you say you were uncomfortable?
What nonsense are you talking about?
You'll get used to it. And to be honest, although I felt uncomfortable at the time, I kind of miss it afterwards. So Bai Yu set up a hot pot. The four of them, plus old Mo, gathered around the hot pot and began to put in mango beef. The aroma filled the air. Liu Beichen said, Old Bai, don't make it so spicy this time.
Last time, the three of us almost breathed fire.
Shi Jian also said, I think so too. Bai Yu made a huge concession. Fine, mild spicy it is. The four of them and a dog drank wine and ate meat, having a great time. Yen Li propped one leg on the stool and took a big gulp of wine. The wine is good, and this thing is also delicious.
Little Bai, you're a good guy.
From now on, in the Leong sect, I'll have your back. Bai Yu chuckled. That's great.
By the way, senior sister, can you
teach me that spell called Blazing Fire Sword? Bai Yu had been coveting Yen Li's spells for a long time. His cultivation was difficult to improve for the time being, so he had to practice a few powerful spells first. Fortunately, his comprehension was quite strong, and he learned spells faster than ordinary people. Besides some basic spells, learning other spells required sect contribution points. Bai Yu had no contribution points, so he set his sights on senior sister Yen Li. For example, the Blazing Fire Sword he mentioned was a Shen rank, upper grade fire spell. Senior sister Yen Li was very generous. She took out a jade slip and threw it to Bai Yu.
Here, take it. Return it to me in 10 days.
Bai Yu was overjoyed. He poured a cup of wine for his senior sister. Come, senior sister, have some wine. After eating and drinking their fill, Bai Yu returned to his small courtyard. He took out the jade slip his senior sister had given him. The higher the grade of a technique or spell, the more exquisite and complex it was. It was very difficult for ordinary people to record it. A typical Earth rank upper grade spell had thousands of words of incantations, dozens of hand seals, and a very complex meridian circulation route. If written on paper, it would be at least a book's thickness. Moreover, many of the spiritual energy and meridian routes involved three-dimensional space and couldn't be written on paper. Only specially made jade slips could meet the requirements. Since they were specially made, the price was naturally not low. Bai Yu placed the jade slip on his forehead, and a stream of information flowed into his mind. Blazing Fire Sword, Earth rank, upper grade spell. Condenses fire into a sword, extremely fast. Compatibility with Storm Fireball, 77%. Bai Yu smiled slightly. Choosing this Blazing Fire Sword was indeed the right decision. Among the fire spells, the Fireball art had great power, the Fire Rain art had a large area of effect, and the Blazing Fire Sword had great speed. If he could fuse the three, he could have the advantages of all three spells at the same time. Thinking of this, Bai Yu began to practice the Blazing Fire Sword. Fortunately, he was not stupid and had good comprehension. Anyone who could survive the brutal education system of his past life in China was not bad. Even so, it still took him 3 days to master this very complex spell. Blazing Fire Sword, not started 1-000/1-000-000. Bai Yu didn't waste time and invested over 1,000 life experience to fuse the Storm Fireball and the Blazing Fire Sword. Fusion successful. Obtained spell, Fire Rain Sword. Fire Rain Sword, Earth rank, upper grade. Can switch between Fireball, Fire Rain, and Fire Sword forms at will. Bai Yu was overjoyed. He went to an open space. He formed hand seals and chanted an incantation. A wash basin-sized fireball appeared in front of him. Then, the fireball transformed into a blazing long sword and shot towards the distance at high speed. When it reached its destination, it transformed into a shower of fire rain, covering an area of 10 zhong in radius. The egg-sized fire rain rained down, blasting holes in the ground. Bai Yu nodded in satisfaction. This Fire Rain Sword could be used as a trump card. When unleashed, it would definitely give the enemy a surprise. In the following days, Bai Yu focused on practicing spells and made rapid progress. However, his cultivation was as slow as a snail. A year passed in the blink of an eye. The sect's minor competition was approaching. On this day, senior sister Yen Li checked everyone's cultivation. Liu Beichen, as expected of his eunuch body, had broken through another layer and reached the 7th layer of qi refining. Shi Jian had already been at the 7th layer when he entered the sect, and now he was at the peak of the 7th layer. Only Bai Yu's performance was as stable as ever. Senior sister Yen Li looked at the three of them. Liu Beichen, Try to get into the top 3 this time. As for shrewd, aim for the top 100.
Don't you dare l'os face formeux. A fort little bay. Juste don't get beaten to death.
The 3 of them all expressed their determination. Liu Beichen patted his chest.
Don't worry, Senior Sister.
Not to mention the top 50, even the top 30 is a sure thing. He had the sun body, so he was full of confidence. Shrewd scratched his head. The top 100. I should have no problem. Bai Yu also said heroically, in this competition, I will use my strength to show you how many newcomers there are this year. He had already made up his mind to get himself eliminated with his own skills, without his senior sister's help. Then he could go and take on sect odd jobs and start his funeral career. Finally, the sect's minor competition arrived as scheduled. On this day, a wide plaza was packed with people. This place was called the Dragon Tiger Field, where the sect's trials and grand competitions were held every year. On the plaza were 10 high platforms cast from gold and iron, engraved with mysterious inscriptions, called the Dragon Tiger platforms. Each platform had a foundation establishment expert presiding over it. The Dragon Tiger Field was bustling with people. It seemed there were several thousand people in this year's batch. Under the auspices of Senior Uncle Lu Ming, this year's sect minor competition officially began. Disciples whose names were called went to their corresponding Dragon Tiger platforms to compete and display the results of their year of rest. This ranking would determine their cultivation resources for the next year, so all the disciples were extremely serious, eager to compete. The battles on the platforms were fierce, with brilliant lights and thunderous sounds. Below the platforms, cheers erupted from time to time. Bai Yu took out his 3-piece set of a stool, melon seeds, and herbal tea, and watched the show from the side. This stool of his was specially made for watching shows. It was over a zhang hai, with a wide top, giving him an unobstructed view of everything below. Fight. Fight.
Good sword strike. Throw a talisman.
That kick was beautiful. Liu Beichen and Shrewd, seeing Bai Yu like this, unceremoniously flew up and squeezed Bai Yu and old Emo to the side. The 2 of them also took a handful of melon seeds and started watching the show. Shrewd said, I have to say, Brother Bai really knows how to live. With melon seeds and herbal tea, the atmosphere is just right. I was a bit nervous before, but now I'm much more relaxed. Liu Beichen, on the other hand, was looking around. This stool is great. The view is wide, you can see everything. Look at that girl on platform C. She's so pretty. What a ball. Bai Yu followed Liu Beichen's gaze. Indeed, a great ball. It was even more exaggerated than senior sister Yan Li's. Like a watermelon hanging from her neck. Bai Yu immediately transformed into a Chinese football fan. The 3 of them and a dog watched the ball game with great enthusiasm. At this moment, the disciple token on Liu Beichen's waist began to glow.
It's my turn. I'll be right back.
Liu Beichen leaped onto the stage. His opponent was named Zhao Ding, a lightning spiritual root cultivator.
A lightning spiritual root against a sun body.
The 2 of them were filled with murderous intent, and the battle was about to begin. Zhao Ding rubbed his hands together to create a thunderball, and streaks of lightning shot towards Liu Beichen. Liu Beichen, as soon as he made his move, threw out several vine-binding talismans to restrict Zhao Ding's movement, then charged forward with a long sword without hesitation. He was a body cultivator. This battle was arguably the most exciting one so far. One side had powerful lightning magic, while the other had amazing combat skills. They fought back and forth. In the end, Liu Beichen was a notch better and kicked Zhao Ding off the stage. From a distance, Bai Yu secretly thought, with old Liu's combat skills, if I go all out, I should be able to defeat him within 100 moves. Just then, the disciple token on Bai Yu's waist also began to glow. It was his turn. The disciple token on Bai Yu's waist flashed. It's my turn to perform. This time, I must get myself eliminated with my own skills. He followed the instructions of the disciple token and went to the Gung Dragon Tiger platform. On the platform, a young man in brocade robes was already waiting. He wore a gorgeous brocade robe, a jade pendant hung from his waist, and he had a lazy look on his face. He looked like a dandy. This young man was named Lin Yun, a direct descendant of the Lin family, the head of the 3 major families of the Great Li Kingdom. Lin Yun's father was the previous head of the Lin family, Lin Fei. However, just a few years ago, his father, Lin Fei, had died mysteriously. An uncle from a side branch had taken over as the head of the family. The forces of Lin Fei's direct lineage had either disappeared or been suppressed. Lin Yun guessed that his father's death was the work of his uncle, but he couldn't investigate, couldn't say anything, and couldn't even think about it. Once he showed the slightest intention of trying to find out the truth, the current family head would definitely eliminate him. So, he decided to play dumb and act like a good-for-nothing. He made up his mind. This battle would let everyone know that he, Lin Yun, was a good-for-nothing. At this moment, the referee's senior brother at the side announced, Number 236, Lin Yun, versus number 853, Bai Yu. Please verify your identities. Bai Yu and Lin Yun both showed their disciple tokens to confirm their identities. The referee's senior brother leaped off the stage.
Begin.
Lin Yun looked lazy, but in his heart he was shouting, "Come on, attack me. As long as you attack me, after a few moves, I'll fall down and let you win for free." At the same time, Bai Yu's face was calm, but in his heart, he was also calculating. Now is the test of my acting skills. Let's see how I can lose convincingly. The two of them locked eyes, their gazes filled with murderous intent. Then they just stood there, waiting for the other to make the first move. 1 minute later, they were still facing off. 5 minutes later, they were still facing off. An incense stick's time passed, and they were still facing off. The senior and junior brothers watching below were all dumbfounded.
What is going on?
Why aren't these two moving? Aren't they tired of just standing there? Hey, fight already. Are you both scared? Afraid to make a move?
You guys don't understand.
A master's duel is decided in an instant. It's all about making the opponent move first. These two are definitely masters. On the stage, Lin Yun was also a bit confused.
What is going on?
Why hasn't this kid on the other side made a move yet? He snorted coldly in his heart. Since you won't make a move, I'll just give you a free hit. He leaped up and threw a punch. This punch seemed fierce, but it had no killing intent. Not only that, he deliberately left an opening, leaving his chest wide open. Anyone with a bit of combat experience could seize this excellent opportunity. Lin Yun shouted in his heart, "Come on, counterattack my chest. Defeat me directly. Let everyone know that I, Lin Yun, am a good-for-nothing." At this moment, Bai Yu on the other side counterattacked in a flustered manner. However, the next moment, Bai Yu was sent flying, spitting out blood. He fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and then passed out. Lin Yun was stunned.
What the hell is going on?
I just touched him, I didn't even use any force. How did I send him flying with one punch? And he's even spitting out blood? His ribs are even caved in? He passed out directly? Lin Yun had only one thought in his mind: I absolutely cannot win. He was a ruthless person. He gritted his teeth, forcibly ruptured a few of his meridians, and also spat out a mouthful of blood, falling backwards and fainting. This time, everyone below was completely dumbfounded. It wasn't unheard of for someone to be defeated in one move on the Dragon Tiger platform, but for two people to be knocked out simultaneously in one move, this was an unprecedented event. It was well known that knocking out an opponent in one move meant you were very strong. Being knocked out by an opponent in one move meant you were very weak. So if you knocked out your opponent in one move and were also knocked out in one move yourself, were you strong or weak? The senior brother in charge of the Gung platform was flustered. He quickly went forward to check. Seeing the condition of the two, he couldn't help but gasp. Both of them had spat out a lot of blood and had fainted at the same time. Lin Yun's meridians were damaged, and his face was pale. Bai Yu was even more ruthless, directly dislocating his ribs with a bone-softening technique. He looked miserable. Fortunately, both of them were still breathing and hadn't died. The referee's senior brother quickly called for medical disciples and then announced, "Number 853, Bai Yu, fell first and is seriously injured, unable to continue fighting. Eliminated. Number 236, Lin Yun, wins." Normally, both the winner and the loser would have to go through more than one round of fighting to determine their ranking. But Bai Yu, who was knocked out in one move and unable to continue fighting, could only be directly eliminated. At this time, two teams of medical disciples came up and carried the two of them down for treatment. Half a day later, Bai Yu was lying on a special bed, covered in bandages. Liu Beichen, Shi Jian, and even senior sister Yan Li had rushed over.
Liu Beichen was furious.
Damn it! Which bastard was so ruthless as to beat old Bai like this? Shi Jian was also angry. "Brother Bai, tell me who did it. Next time I see him, I'll get revenge for you." Bai Yu said seriously, "I didn't perform well. If I had, I could have killed him in one move." Liu Beichen thought Bai Yu was just being stubborn and quickly told him to calm down.
Olbei, y understand. You're a talisman master with no combat experience.
It's normal to be nervous on the stage. Senior sister Yan Li stuffed a bottle of pills into Bai Yu's hand.
You're du broc à bonne.
"Take this bottle of life source pills and get well soon." Bai Yu couldn't refuse and had to accept. For the next few days, Bai Yu spent his time in bed. He only recovered after the minor competition ended. When the competition was over, the rewards were also distributed. Liu Beichen got into the top 30 and received a high-grade artifact and a few bottles of pills. Shi Jian ranked 89th and also received a lot of rewards. Only Bai Yu was directly eliminated. Not only did he not receive any rewards, but he would even have to earn his own contribution points to continue staying in the sect. Hearing this bad news, Bai Yu smiled sadly. He had finally taken the first step and could move freely and choose sect missions. He had already inquired. There were also graveyards in the sect. As long as he could find a way to get in, he could start his happy funeral career. Shi Jian, seeing Bai Yu like this, said, it's over. Brother Bai has been traumatized."
Liu Beichen patted Bai Yu on the shoulder.
"Old Bai, you don't have to pretend.
We understand.
It's just one failure. It's no big deal. There's always next time. When you've recovered, I'll take you to the pink immortal grotto at the foot of the mountain to have some fun.
Bayou, Pink Immortal Grotto? What is that place?
Liu Beichen smiled mysteriously.
It's a paradise.
The female cultivators there are of all shapes and sizes. I heard a new fairy Yunfeng has arrived recently. She's mature, graceful, and enchanting. She's the most.
Sous le steering.
Mature female cultivator? The chow chow within Baiyu stirred.
Help me up.
I can do it. A few days later, Baiyu received a notice from the sect. All eliminated disciples had to go to the Hall of 100 Affairs to accept missions. They had to earn 50 contribution points a year to continue staying in the sect and receive cultivation resources. This was exactly what Baiyu had been waiting for. He went directly to the Hall of 100 Affairs to find the mission he wanted. The Hall of 100 Affairs was the place that handled all sorts of sect miscellaneous matters. At this time, there weren't many people in the hall. It seemed everyone was still immersed in their failure and had no motivation. Only Baiyu was eagerly choosing missions. In the plaza in front of the entrance was a huge stone stele. Around the stele floated colorful clusters of light. These clusters of light contained the various missions issued by the sect. Baiyu first checked these clusters of light one by one.
Even rank mission, slay the blood demon spirit lore. Reward, 1,000,000 contribution point.
Earth rank mission, an evil dragon has appeared in the South Sea.
Please slay the dragon S-Master. Reward, 180,000 contribution point.
Shen rank mission, hand in 10 stalks of Moonyong branches over 300 years old. Good grief, these missions were too dangerous. For example, that blood demon spirit lord was at least a golden core expert. In the cultivation world, there was an unwritten rule: golden core experts could become spirit lords, and nascent soul experts could become ancestors. A mission to slay a golden core spirit lord was something he shouldn't even think about. Baiyu obediently checked the Huang rank missions. After some searching, he finally found the mission he wanted.
Huang rank mission, long terme Zhuang Peak Spirit Graveillard is recruiting a management disciple. Mission requirement, cultivation level not limited. Monthly contribution point, 5.
Baiyu's lips curved into a wide grin, like Chow Chow seeing a beautiful married woman. Zhuang Peak was the burial ground for the disciples of the Leiyang sect. Even golden core spirit lords would choose to pass away at Zhuang Peak. Wasn't this tailor-made for Baiyu? Life and death were major events that even the cultivation world couldn't escape. Baiyu immediately chose this mission and entered the Hall of 100 Affairs. To Baiyu's surprise, there was someone inside who was even earlier than him. That person wore a brocade robe and looked lazy. It was actually Lin Yun. In the main hall sat a goatee-bearded old Taoist, a Foundation establishment elder. Elder Chiu said, "Have you thought it through? The position of guard at the Myriad Arts Pavilion is leisurely, but the contribution points are not enough. It's only 30-odd points a year, not enough for cultivation resources." Lin Yun handed over his disciple token. Disciple only wishes to live out the rest of his life in leisure.
I hope the elder will grant my wish.
Elder Chiu didn't say much. He waved his hand and a streak of magic light entered the disciple token, registering Lin Yun. Baiyu listened and a thought struck him. Lin Yun had actually chosen to become a security guard, taking a shortcut to a life of eating and waiting for death, saving himself decades of struggle. At this moment, Lin Yun also saw Baiyu. The two of them locked eyes and both felt a sense of camaraderie, like heroes recognizing each other. This person might be a rival for life. Baiyu smiled faintly and also stepped forward to accept the mission. Elder, disciple wishes to accept the mission at Zhuang Peak. Elder Chiu looked at Baiyu in surprise.
Zhuang Peak?
That's not a good place. The yin energy is heavy, the spiritual energy is thin, and the cultivation speed is slow. The contribution points are not that high either. Are you sure? Baiyu nodded. Reporting to the elder, disciple has already thought it through. My aptitude is not good.
I only hope for a quiet and peaceful life.
Elder Chiu was a bit strange. Why had he encountered two such disciples today? He didn't try to persuade him further. Giving him a reminder was the greatest kindness he could show. The young disciples nowadays just didn't listen to their elders. None of those who went to Zhuang Peak didn't regret it. Just you wait, it won't be long before he comes back crying and begging. However, until the next disciple takes over, he can only suffer at Zhuang Peak. Elder Chiu waved his hand, and a cluster of spiritual light fell into Baiyu's disciple token. Baiyu had successfully accepted the mission. Baiyu was in high spirits, but his face showed no emotion. He walked out of the Hall of 100 Affairs at a leisurely pace. Not long after he left, Lin Yun came out from behind a rock, his mouth moving slightly, but no sound came out. If someone could read lips, they might have been able to make out something like, "Old Gu, do you think this guy is a threat? Anyone who stands in the way of my revenge must die." A moment later, he also flew away. At the same time, Baiyu was stopped by a senior brother.
Junior brother, wait a moment.
Are you interested in joining our Tianqing society? Baiyu was a bit surprised. He turned around and saw a short, ant-like middle-aged man with a shrewd look in his eyes. Baiyu asked, "Senior brother you are?" The ant-like middle-aged man said, "Junior brother, my name is Ho Haitao. I entered the sect a few years before you."
Greeting, Senior Broderu. What is the Tianqing Society?
Ho Haitao said, "The Tianqing Society is a cultivation society formed by many eliminated fellow disciples.
The name means Heaven rewards the diligent.
Our aptitude is not good, but we will never give up. Only diligence can make up for our shortcomings. The first senior who founded the Tianqing Society has already become a golden core spirit lord through his own diligence and hard work. I see that junior brother came to accept a mission so early. You must be someone who is not content with mediocrity. Why not join our Tianqing Society? We can help each other and make progress together." It seemed the so-called Tianqing Society was a society of grinders. Baiyu had great respect for grinders. If your aptitude was not good and you wanted to achieve something, you could only rely on diligence and hard work. Ho Haitao, seeing that Baiyu didn't speak, said, "Junior brother, there are many benefits to joining our Tianqing Society. We can exchange information, whether it's buying and selling pills or going on missions together. It's very convenient. And we can also encourage each other and make progress together."
Baiyu took fort un moment.
Joining a society wasn't a bad thing. So he said, "What senior brother Ho says makes sense. But please allow me to consider it. I will give you an answer in the future." Ho Haitao didn't insist. He asked for Baiyu's name and then said earnestly, "Junior brother, you are young and don't know the value of time.
When you reach my age, you will know the pain of wasting your time.
You must be diligent and hard-working in your prime." Baiyu looked like he had been enlightened and bowed before leaving. Whether to strive or to lie flat was a personal choice, and there was nothing wrong with either. Some people enjoy a peaceful life, while others are not content with mediocrity and strive hard. As for Baiyu, between striving and lying flat, he chose to use cheats. As long as the funerals were in place, what couldn't he have? Thinking of this, the speed of his flight increased. Half a day later, he finally arrived at the outer edge of Jilei Mountain, at Zhuowang Peak. He landed at the foot of the mountain and glanced at a bell at the foot of the mountain. Not long after, a haggard-looking senior brother with panda eyes came out. Baiyu bowed and said, "Senior brother, my name is Baiyu. I'm here at Zhuowang Peak to look after the graveyard." The panda-eyed senior brother immediately burst into tears and grabbed Baiyu's hand, not letting go.
Why did you take so long to come? 30 years.
For 30 long years, I've finally waited for my replacement. The panda-eyed senior brother held Baiyu's hand and wouldn't let go. He rambled on, telling Baiyu about the hardships of these years. The yin energy in Zhuowang Peak is heavy, the spiritual energy is thin, and there are many ghosts. I don't want to stay in this damn place for another day.
The panda-eyed man, without another word, pulled Baiyu up a stone path.
Junior brother, this stone path is called the Zhuowang Path. The surrounding stone walls record the deeds of the successive patriarchs of the Leiyang sect who passed away. The entire Zhuowang Peak has a protective formation. You can only enter through the Zhuowang Path.
This is the access token.
Take it. Ah, I also have a jade slip in my room. All the information about Zhuowang Peak is in it. Just read it a few more times. The panda-eyed senior brother explained everything in one go and then left without looking back, not even bothering to pack his own room. Baiyu, on the other hand, was more and more satisfied with this. Others avoided this place like the plague, but for Baiyu, it was a holy land for cultivation. And it seemed no one would come to bother him. He took a deep breath of the air. It was a familiar smell. It felt like coming home. Suddenly, the panda-eyed senior brother turned back and said, "Junior brother, I forgot to tell you one thing. If you see a mad woman during the ghost festival, and she talks to you, you must not respond. This is a rule passed down by the disciples of Zhuowang Peak from generation to generation. You must remember it. But junior brother, you don't have to worry too much. I've been here for 30 years and have never seen any mad woman." Baiyu listened and smiled faintly, bowing.
Don't worry, Seigneur Broder, il est remembé.
Only then did the panda-eyed senior brother leave with a sense of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Baiyu, on the other hand, took old Mo into the senior brother's room to have a look. There were still some books and other things left inside. Baiyu casually picked up a book, A Traveler's Guide to the Pink Immortal Grotto. Good grief, no wonder this senior brother has two panda eyes. So he was studying.
Ah.
Baiyu took old Mo and chose a flat piece of land to build a wooden house. He then picked out many useful things from the panda-eyed senior brother's room, including that travel guide. After that, he set up a formation outside the wooden house. After doing all this, Baiyu felt completely relaxed. He took old Mo and patrolled Zhuowang Peak, feeling incredibly happy. Old Mo, we're officially settling down here. We'll conduct funerals steadfastly, cultivate peacefully, make talismans, refine qi, and enjoy ourselves. The sun on Zhuowang Peak is bright, the wind is gentle, and the trees are happy. The emotions that had accumulated in his heart were swept away. From now on, he just needed to focus on conducting funerals. If there are no idle matters hanging on the mind, it is a good time in the world. Bai Yu hummed a little tune and set up a hot pot with old Mo, feeling extremely happy. That night, he entered his dreams with great expectations. The happy funeral career was about to begin. As expected, business came the next day. 2 coffins contained the fellow disciples who had died in the sect's minor competition. Although the minor competition had referees and foundation establishment seniors watching, blades and swords had no eyes, and casualties were unavoidable. Bai Yu, following the procedure, held a white banner and led the 2 fellow disciples into the Zhuowang Hall at the foot of the mountain. The deceased would receive their final farewells from their families here. With nothing to do, Bai Yu flipped through the memory fragments of these 2 unlucky fellows. One was a 6th-layer qi refining cultivator named Gengzhong. He was pierced by a sword from an 8th-layer qi refining expert and died of his injuries. The other was a 7th-layer qi refining cultivator named Zhao Dekai. Zhao Dekai was even more miserable. His opponent was a 6th-layer iron-armored burly man. He thought he could win, but he was killed by a single punch from the iron-armored man, his head smashed.
The path of immortality is perilous.
To obtain cultivation resources, one must fight and struggle. It's better to conduct funerals peacefully. In the end, the 2 coffins slowly ascended the Zhuowang path and were buried in the disciple cemetery halfway up the mountain. Bai Yu played a melodious tune on his suona, announcing the separation of life and death. Funeral successful.
Ordinary reward. Fire spiritual route +3, life experience +69,182.
Optional rewards: Fire Dragon Scroll, Sword Riding Art, Spiritual Power +30, Dust Dispelling Art, Cold Light Curse.
Funeral participation, 61%.
One additional reward may be selected. Funeral successful.
Ordinary reward. Water spiritual route +4, funeral expérience +100,861.
Optional rewards: Jade Wave Heart Method, Ice Cone Art, Small Cloud and Rain Art, Basic Spirit Grass Planting, Chenling Art.
Funeral participation, 62%.
One additional reward may be selected. Looking at the familiar reward panel, Bai Yu felt an inexplicable sense of peace. He could finally have a stable source of funeral rewards again. This time, he gained 3 points in his fire spiritual route, bringing his total to 12. He also gained over 100,000 life experience, which was a great relief. Bai Yu looked back and forth at the optional rewards and chose the sword riding art first. This was a spell he had been looking forward to for a long time. It was a Shen rank mid-grade spell. The speed of the sword riding art was 3 or 4 times faster than the soaring art, making it perfect for chasing and escaping. As for the second reward, Bai Yu hesitated for a while between basic spirit grass planting and Chenling art. The former could be used to grow spirit grass, while the latter was a technique for concealing one's spiritual power and aura. Chenling art, Shen rank, low grade. Can conceal spiritual power and aura, resisting the detection of Heaven's Eye art. Compatibility with Turtle and Snake Aura Concealment Art, 81%. Good grief, the Chenling art could even be fused with the Turtle and Snake Aura Concealment Art. Bai Yu chose the Chenling art without a second thought and then invested life experience to fuse the two. Fusion successful. Obtained, Turtle and Snake Reverse Spirit Art. Turtle and Snake Reverse Spirit Art, Shen rank, mid-grade. Can conceal aura, hide martial arts realm, and cover up spiritual power fluctuations. Good grief. Now, a single technique could conceal both his martial arts and immortal cultivation. And because it inherited the previous proficiency, it was directly at the grand accomplishment stage. Bai Yu was secretly pleased. A few days later, when no one was around, Bai Yu circulated the Turtle and Snake Reverse Spirit Art. His entire aura became faint and indistinct. Not only were his spiritual power fluctuations hidden, but his martial arts true qi also disappeared. If someone were here, they would only think Bai Yu was an ordinary mortal. After casting the Reverse Spirit Art, Bai Yu took out a short golden sword and began to practice the sword riding art. This was an artifact he had obtained from the Black Wind Four Ghosts, a high-grade artifact. Old Mo, no time to explain, get on. Old Mo excitedly leaped onto the golden sword. Woof woof.
Like a tiger.
Let's go. Bai Yu stepped on the sword, and spiritual power poured into it. Whoosh. The golden sword carried Bai Yu and Old Mo, shooting towards the distance.
Tiger take off.
The wind howled in his ears, white clouds were under his feet, and the mountains were like waves. No matter how much sorrow and depression he had, it would all be carried away by the fierce wind. Bai Yu and Old Mo both shouted out, to roam the North Sea in the morning and Kangwu in the evening, even being an emperor is not as good as this. On a mountain peak in the Leiyang sect, a guide senior sister was teaching her junior sister about the immortal path.
Luer, Listen carefully.
The path of cultivation is a battle against heaven's will. The only one you can rely on is yourself. Others, even your parents, master, or Taoist partner, cannot be absolutely trusted.
You must control your own life and death.
Luer nodded eagerly. Just then, a golden sword flew across the sky, its flight path wobbly. Bai Yu was sitting on the golden sword, eating melon seeds. In front, old Mo was trying hard to control the plane. Go old Mo, you can do it. Bai Yu wasn't worried at all, completely letting old Mo handle it. Below, the goddess-like junior sister stared wide-eyed. Senior sister Fei Hong, didn't you say you can't absolutely trust anyone? Senior sister Fei Hong. In the sky, old Mo's sword riding art gradually became proficient.
The golden sword flew swiftly across the sky.
Bai Yu stood up, spread his arms, and felt the fierce wind. All his troubles and trivial matters were blown away by the wind.
À tous en miles son sword, Xiao Yao in the mortal world.
This was the joy of the immortal path. 2 sleeves of carefree chi, 1,000 miles of joy. Bai Yu and old Mo played in the wind for 3 days, and Bai Yu's sword riding art also reached the adept stage. On this day, as he was practicing the sword riding art, the jade token on his waist rang 3 times. 3 rings of the bell meant a funeral was coming. Another funeral business had arrived. Only then did Bai Yu return to Zhuang Peak to begin the funeral. This time, the funeral was for an outer sect disciple. Like Bai Yu, he had been eliminated in the previous minor competition. In order to get more contribution points and aim for the next minor competition, he had forcibly chosen a difficult mission. As a result, he was torn in half by a demonic beast. The senior brother who was with him only managed to retrieve half of his body. Bai Yu sighed deeply and played a mournful tune on his swona.
The Sionat une burier the young man that immortal blood.
Funeral successful.
Base reward. 3 years of immortal Dao cultivation. Life experience plus 330,000.
Optional rewards. Fire spiritual root plus 3, gold spiritual root plus 4, raging gold art, gold smelting art, primal light art.
Funeral participation, 51%.
1 additional reward may be selected. 3 years of immortal cultivation increased Bai Yu's cultivation progress by 15%. A year of hard cultivation for Bai Yu only increased it by 3%. Funerals were so worth it. As for the optional rewards, Bai Yu chose the Fire Spiritual Root plus 3. Now, his Fire Spiritual Root had reached 15 points. The other rewards could be bought with Spirit Stones. Only Spiritual Root Aptitude was something that couldn't be bought. Since he could choose a Spiritual Root, he naturally chose it. That night, Bai Yu lay in bed and began to plan for the future. His own cultivation speed was too slow. A single funeral reward was equivalent to 3 to 5 years of cultivation. Instead of putting his energy into refining chi, it would be better to focus on practicing martial arts and quickly improve his martial arts cultivation. With the resources of the immortal path, he believed that his martial arts cultivation speed would be much faster. In these years, Bai Yu had collected a lot of information. In ancient times, the immortal path, the martial path, and even the yin-yang path were all on equal footing. The immortal path realms were divided into 9 layers of chi refining, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, etc. The martial arts realms were divided into 9 grades of Hotian, innate, grandmaster, great grandmaster, and martial god. The yin-yang masters were divided into 3 realms of feng shui, earth master, and heaven master. But later, the immortal path surpassed all others. A chi refining cultivator could match an innate martial artist and an earth master. There was no other way. It was the crushing power of the immortal civilization. A martial artist spent 10 years to master lightness skill, while in the immortal path, a single flying artifact could do the same. A martial artist tempered his muscles and bones to develop a body of steel, while in the immortal path, a single Vajra talisman could enhance defense. For other immortal cultivators, practicing martial arts was a very low-cost performance thing. But Bai Yu was different. He had an infinite lifespan and enough time to temper his muscles and bones. So he made a cultivation plan, focus on martial arts, supplement with talisman making. When his spiritual root aptitude was high enough, he would focus on the immortal path, which would be much more efficient. In the following days, Bai Yu began his orderly cultivation. His way of practicing martial arts was also very simple: eat. Every day, he would buy some demonic beast meat with rich chi and blood and refine it with the heavenly wolf spirit devouring art. His true chi would then steadily increase. A mortal martial artist had to suffer for countless years, absorbing the energy of heaven and earth to polish his true chi. Bai Yu only needed to spend spirit stones to buy demonic beast meat and eat it. Just like that, he began his peaceful cultivation life, conducting funerals, playing the swona, practicing martial arts, and making talismans. He was not in a hurry, and his life was peaceful. Sometimes, Liu Beichen and Shi Jian would come to Zhuang Peak for a meal and tell Bai Yu about the latest news in the sect. Even senior sister Yan Li would occasionally come for a meal and wine, drinking until she was drunk. Days passed, and the true chi in Bai Yu's body became more and more abundant. In his spare time, he also joined the Tianqing Society. Every time he made a spirit talisman, he would sell it through the Tianqing Society and exchange it for demonic beast meat with rich chi and blood. The senior brother who had introduced Bai Yu to the society, Ho Haitao,